नमस्ते दोस्तों, मैं हूं जगदीश चोपड़े। स्वागत है आपका मेरे इस यूट्यूब चैनल में जिसका नाम है युवा यूएक्स मेंटोर, जिसमें हम युवा यूएक्स डिजाइनिंग, डेवलपमेंट और रिलेटेड टूल्स एंड टेक्नोलॉजी सीखते हैं। और यह है हमारा युवा यूएक्स डिजाइनिंग और फिग्मा ट्रेनिंग सीरीज का क्लास नंबर 24। अब लास्ट क्लास में हमने कवर किया था मास्किंग, और आज के क्लास में हम देखेंगे ऑटो लेआउट। यस, द मोस्ट अवेटेड वीडियो इज हियर, in which we will going to cover this most useful and most powerful feature of Figma in a great detail with lots of examples. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. तो सच में ऑटो लेआउट फिग्मा का एक बहुत ही पॉपुलर, यूजेबल और पावरफुल टूल है which have been making Figma very distinguishable and popular in the market as compared to the other UX designing tools. और हम ऑटो लेआउट के बहुत बेसिक एग्जांपल से चालू करेंगे. We will explore auto layout with the very basic examples, and then we will go deep into all the features available, and then lastly we will also cover the advanced examples too. तो चलिए मेरे स्क्रीन पर देखते हैं. तो ये लास्ट क्लास में हमने मास्किंग कुछ एग्जांपल्स यहाँ पे क्रिएट किए थे. अब ऑटो लेआउट के लिए मैं यहाँ पे एक ऑल टुगेदर नया पेज बना लेता हूँ. सो जस्ट क्लिक ऑन दिस ऐड न्यू पेज बटन एंड वन पेज एडेड हियर. जस्ट नेम दिस एज ऑटो लेआउट. और अभी ये ब्लैंक पेज है, अभी लेयर्स में यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं है. दिस इज टोटली एम्प्टी पेज. और नाउ दिस विल बी अ कंटिन्यूएशन of responsive design from our constant class. तो constant के क्लास में लास्ट में हमने responsive बटन किस तरह से बनाते हैं वो देखा था, और उसी बटन को यहाँ पे रिक्रिएट करते हैं क्विकली. सो वी हैड यूज्ड फ्रेम. तो यहाँ पे इस तरह से एक बटन का एक फ्रेम में बना लेता हूँ, एंड देन वी जस्ट एडेड वन लेबल हियर. तो यहाँ पे अंदर मैं एक लेबल ऐड कर देता हूँ, जैसे ये रहेगा मेरा buy now button. Okay, of course the font and everything we have to reset. तो इसका फॉन्ट रखते हैं लगभग 40 के अराउंड यहाँ पे. और जो फॉन्ट है वो मैं रखता हूँ फॉर एग्जांपल अर्बनिस्ट. ओके, जो कि हमारा ये जो डेमो एप्लीकेशन है उसका प्राइमरी फॉन्ट है, एंड वी आर गुड. अब यहाँ पे पहले तो आउट ऑफ फ्रेम जो है उसको मैं रीनेम कर लेता हूँ. नाउ दिस इज अवर बटन, ओके, विच वी आर क्रिएटिंग बाय यूजिंग फ्रेम. ओके, और इसे बटन जैसा थोड़ा सा दिखने के लिए ना थोड़ा सा मैं स्टाइल इसकी चेंज कर देता हूँ. जैसे कॉर्नर रेडियस थोड़ी ऐड कर देता हूँ, विच ऑफ कोर्स नॉट नेसेसरी. और फील जो है उसका मैं थोड़ा चेंज करके फॉर एग्जांपल इस तरह का कोई रख लेते हैं, लाइक this suppose. Yes, okay. And after that this label, I want to set this label in a center. तो यहाँ पे ये जो मेरे रेड कलर के गाइडलाइंस है उसका हेल्प करके मैं यहाँ पे इसे सेंटर में सेट कर देता हूँ. एंड नाउ दिस पर्टिकुलर बटन इज नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिव एज वी ऑलरेडी नो. अगर मैं इसे रिसाइज करता हूँ तो सी दिस पर्टिकुलर लेबल इज नॉट रिस्पॉन्डिंग to the changes. Okay, let me undo. तो इसे रिस्पॉन्सिव बनाने के लिए हमने constant क्लास में पहले ही देखा था that what we had to do, we have to use this constants. Okay, तो ये जो constants है इसे यूज़ करना है. वैसे constants तो हमने बहुत ही डिटेल में constant के क्लास में ऑलरेडी कवर किया है, पर यहाँ पे एक क्विकली ओवरव्यू दे देता हूँ. यहाँ पे जैसे हम दिख रहे हैं कि बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट हर एक एलिमेंट को टॉप और लेफ़्ट कंस्टेंट्स ऐड रहते. मतलब ये जो एलिमेंट है इनर चिल्ड्रन एलिमेंट, वो अपनी पोजीशन जो है उसके पेरेंट के टॉप और लेफ़्ट से याद रखेगा. मतलब इसका पेरेंट अगर मैं चेंज करता हूँ तो उसकी पोजीशन टॉप और लेफ़्ट को याद रख रहा है, फिक्स रख रहा है. लेट मी अनडू. अभी ये इस तरह के सिचुएशन में इतने इजीली समझ में नहीं आती है. इफ़ वी चेंज द कांस्टेंट ऑफ दिस फ्रॉम टॉप or from left to right और टॉप के जगह पे अगर मैं बॉटम करता हूँ यहाँ पे इस ड्रॉप डाउन को यूज़ करके भी कर सकते हो। सॉरी, ये लेफ्ट के जगह पे मुझे राइट चाहिए सपोज़, ओके, और ये बॉटम में चाहिए टॉप के जगह पे। अब इसी एलिमेंट को, ये जो दिख रहे हैं, ये जो डॉटेड लाइन, ये अभी चेंज हो गए, ये नीचे की तरफ और ये राइट हैंड साइड की तरफ आ गए। नाउ इफ़ आई सिलेक्ट दिस कंटेनर और अगर मैं इसे रिसाइज करता हूँ, तो सी इट, लेट मी अंडू, और इसकी पोजीशन देख लेते हैं। अभी ये राइट हैंड साइड की तरफ से 94 डिस्टेंस है और बॉटम में 23 डिस्टेंस है। अगर मैं कंटेनर को यहाँ पे सिलेक्ट करके रिसाइज करता हूँ और अभी अगर हम चेक करेंगे, then still that is 94 and 23 from the bottom. Now this confirms that, constraints just, help us to remember the position of that particular element with respect to its parent. Let me, undo again the size. अब मुझे क्या करना है, यहाँ पे ये जो हमारा बटन है, अगर इस बटन को मैं रिसाइज भी करता हूँ, अगर मुझे छोटा बटन चाहिए या फिर बड़ा बटन चाहिए, fine, but each and every case I want this particular label. Let me undo. Each and every case I want this particular label in a center only. So for that case we will just select this children और यहाँ पे हम क्या करेंगे, इसको सेंटर में अलाइन कर देंगे, हॉरिजेंटली सेंटर एंड वर्टिकली आल्सो सेंटर। उसके बाद में अगर ये जो पेरेंट का फ्रेम है, ये बटन का जो पेरेंट फ्रेम है, इसको सिलेक्ट करके अगर हम रिसाइज करते हैं, तो सी that particular label is always in a center, no matter, what position we are keeping. And this is our, what we can say, responsive button ready. And this much, we already covered in a constant class. But there is one problem with this button. This is not fully responsive. Why? Let me show you. तो यहाँ पे अगर मैं इस पर्टिकुलर लेबल की वैल्यू चेंज करता हूँ, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये एक बाय नाउ बटन है, with the same I want to just, create one another button, so I will not be creating this whole button style and everything again. I will just make a copy of this and will just change the label or any another setting like color or anything. इस पर्टिकुलर फ्रेम को सिलेक्ट करके अल्टर होल्ड करके मैं इसकी एक कॉपी ले लेता हूँ यहाँ पे। एंड नाउ लेट्स, क्विकली चेंज द कलर जस्ट फॉर द डिफ्रेंसिएशन पर्पज। तो अभी ये थोड़ा सा ग्रीनिश कलर रख देते हैं। लेट्स क्लोज द कलर पिकर and now I want to use this button for deal of the day. So I will just double click and will update the label and let's call this as deal of the day. So what is happening? This particular label is going out of the button. Fine, it is not the end of the world. We can always select this button and can resize it to fit that particular label. दूसरा एक एग्जांपल देखते हैं, जैसे अगर मैंने फिर से इसकी एक कॉपी ली यहाँ पे और अब यहाँ पे मुझे इस बटन को एज एक शॉर्ट बटन यूज़ करना है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ओके। सो आई विल जस्ट अपडेट दिस लेबल अगेन एंड आई विल जस्ट कॉल दिस एज ओके। अब इस केस में अगेन, वी नीड टू डिक्रीज द width and how to resize this button each and every. So this is not a responsive button. Why? Because each and every time we are making copy and we are, changing the label, we need to make the changes in the button. But a truly responsive button is like, as per its content, it should automatically adopt its height and width. That is a, we can call a smart button. उस तरह का स्मार्ट बटन अगर हमें क्रिएट करना है, वी कैन क्रिएट दैट बाय यूजिंग ऑटो लेआउट। तो चलिए देखते हैं किस तरह से क्रिएट करते हैं। तो ये बाकी के एग्जांपल्स जो है मैं डिलीट कर देता हूँ और ये एक ही बटन यहाँ पे रखते हैं। लेट्स कॉल दिस एज बाय नाउ, एज ऑफ नाउ, एंड लेट्स ट्राई टू वर्क ऑन दिस। तो इससे मैं यहाँ पे जूम करता हूँ। तो दिस इज our one button which we will keep here, and this we have created by using frame. Let's make a copy of this button here, and now let's work on this, and let's first of all call these as button auto layout, because we will going to add auto layout in this. अब इसमें auto layout ऐड करने के लिए देयर आर मल्टीपल वेज। ओके, अब ऑटो लेआउट क्यों ऐड करना है, उसके क्या क्या पर्पस है, उससे क्या क्या बेनिफिट हो गए, वी विल गोइंग टू एक्सप्लोर दैट। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट्स सी हाउ टू ऐड ऑटो लेआउट। तो उसके लिए ये जो बटन है इसे सिलेक्ट करना है एंड देन हियर if you go into layout section, then in the layout here you will get this one button at the very corner, this button which says use auto layout. You just have to click on this button to add the auto layout. That is a simple procedure. Before even clicking that, we have to pay attention on couple of things. Now here, if you pay attention in the layers panel, previously you are seeing these are the frames. The icons here are saying frame और इस तरह का हैश का सिंबल which indicates that these are the frame. और यहाँ पे ऑटो लेआउट में कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज अभी हमें दिख रही है, जैसे एक फ्लो वाला प्रॉपर्टी है एंड वी हैव दिस डायमेंशन, हाइट एंड विड्थ और क्लिप कंटेंट प्रॉपर्टी है जो कि हमें ऑलरेडी पता है. सो दीज आर 3 प्रॉपर्टीज हियर. नाउ let me click on the use auto layout button. Once we clicked on that, couple of changes happened. First thing, pay attention that this particular layout section got now converted into auto layout. This is saying auto layout now. और यहाँ पे बॉटम में कुछ एक्स्ट्रा प्रॉपर्टीज ऐड हो गई है. दैट इज़ द सेकंड थिंग. और उसी के साथ में अगर लेयर्स पैनल में आप चेक करोगे तो ये पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट जो है उसका जो आइकॉन है वो चेंज हो गया है. एंड नाउ वंस यू माउस ओवर ऑन दैट इट इज सेइंग ऑटो लेआउट, वेयर एज दिस प्रीवियस बटन which we created by using frame is still having this particular frame icon and which is saying frame. बट ये जो टॉप वाला जो बटन है जिसके ऊपर अभी ऑटो लेआउट अप्लाई किया वो अभी ऑटो लेआउट बता रहा है. ऑन द विजुअल साइड अगर हम देखेंगे ये ऑटो लेआउट वाला बटन तो इसमें कोई चेंजेस नहीं दिख रहे. नाउ दिस इज हाउ वी ऐड द ऑटो लेआउट, बट इट इज नॉट irreversible process that once we added the auto layout, that's it, that button or that element is auto layout now. Here if you check the auto layout section, तो यहाँ पे जिस बटन पे क्लिक करने के बाद हमने ऑटो लेआउट ऐड किया था वो बटन अभी यहाँ पे इनेबल हो गई है. वी कैन सी दैट दिस इज काइंड ऑफ अ ब्लूइश बटन विच इज सेइंग दैट दिस इज एक्टिव नाउ. नाउ इफ यू माउस ओवर ऑन दिस बटन इट इज सेइंग instead of use auto layout it is now saying remove auto layout. Now if we just click on this button again, you will see that the auto layout has been removed from this particular button or frame. See, यहाँ पे ऑटो लेआउट की जगह पे फिर से लेआउट आ गया है. यहाँ पे वो एक्स्ट्रा प्रॉपर्टीज चले गई है. फिर से वी कैन सी फ्लो, डायमेंशन एंड क्लिप कंटेंट प्रॉपर्टी हियर. अगर लेयर्स पैनल में देखेंगे तो अभी यहाँ पे ऑटो लेआउट चला गया है और यहाँ पे पुराना जैसे फ्रेम का एलिमेंट, यहाँ पे फ्रेम का सिंबल आ गया. नाउ दिस इज जस्ट अ फ्रेम. और विजुअल साइड में तो वैसे भी कुछ चेंजेस नहीं हुए. सो या दीज आर कपल ऑफ चेंजेस हैपन्स व्हेन वी add auto layout on any element. Fine, let's add auto layout again. So for that we will use the same procedure. We will just select that frame on which we want to add auto layout. इसे layers में मैं bottom में ले लेता हूँ. ओके, तो यहाँ पे विजुअल साइड में टॉप में हमारा ये फ्रेम वाला बटन है और बॉटम में ऑटो लेआउट वाला बटन है. एंड वी आर सिलेक्टिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर बटन, ऑटो लेआउट वाला बटन, एंड देन वी आर जस्ट एडिंग दिस ऑटो लेआउट. सो अगेन I'm just clicking on this button which is saying use auto layout. The shortcut key is Shift A, which we use extensively for adding auto layout. So you have to remember this. Shift A is the shortcut key for adding auto layout. So let me click on this button. Again, the same changes happen. This particular layout panel got converted into as an auto layout. It added couple of extra properties here. In the layers panel, again this particular symbol got changed from frame to auto layout, and on the visual side there are no changes as of now. But the instance we added the auto layout on this button, this particular button got converted into a responsive button. How? Let me show you. Now here, suppose I want to change the label of this button to something else. For example, deal of the day. I'll just use, see, instantly as soon as I updated the label, automatically this particular button is adopting its width. Now deal of the day, see, automatically this particular button is adjusting its width as per the content. the same button, suppose I want to use for as a OK. I'll just change the content of this to OK and see. Now this particular button is a fully responsive button, a smart button, where its particular width is getting controlled by the content. इसके अंदर लेबल का जो कंटेंट है उसके हिसाब से ये बटन ऑटोमेटिकली बड़ी या छोटी हो जाएगी. वी डोंट नीड टू वरी अबाउट चेंजिंग द साइज ऑफ दिस बटन each and every time we are making a copy. Now this particular button is a auto layout button. Let me quickly change the color of this button to something else quickly. For example, like this. Now the next question is, why this is happening? What exactly special thing got added in this particular frame, which is now auto layout, that this particular button is, started behaving as a responsive button? One thing is, like, this particular auto layout element is just a frame with some additional properties, additional special properties on top of that added. To confirm this, इस पर्टिकुलर फ्रेम को हम सिलेक्ट करते हैं और यहाँ पे, ठीक है, यहाँ पे और लेआउट की जगह पे ऑटो लेआउट दिखा रहा है, फाइन. बट इफ़ यू गो ऑन द टॉप यू विल सी दैट दिस इज स्टिल अ फ्रेम. ये टॉप में यहाँ पे अभी फ्रेम ही दिखा रहा है. दैट मीन्स दिस इज स्टिल अ फ्रेम, जस्ट विथ सम एडिशनल स्पेशल प्रॉपर्टीज. अंडर द हुड इट इज जस्ट अ फ्रेम. अगर आप ये टॉप वाला जो प्योर फ्रेम है, ये टॉप वाला फ्रेम, इसको अगर सिलेक्ट करते हैं, you will see that it is also a frame, but where it is not having that auto layout special properties added. We can see here the simple properties of the layout are there, and here also we can quickly add those auto layout by just one click, and we can remove that with just one click. So auto layout is not an irreversible process, first of all. Up let's go back on this particular auto layout button and let's understand what exactly special happened on this particular frame that this button became responsive. Now for that, let's have a look. First of all, if you pay attention, this particular flow got changed, this particular flow property got changed. If you check the frame button, this top button frame, you will see this particular flow property is still there in the layout, but it is set to this first element, this first option, which is saying free form. यहाँ पे 4 options है total. First is free form, that means a simple frame. Then the second one is vertical, the third one is horizontal, and the last one is grid. हम ये चारों properties देखेंगे. Grid के लिए हम separate class रखेंगे, but we will explore these 2 properties of flow in this video. उसी के साथ में डायमेंशन, हाइट और विड्थ तो यहाँ पे है ही, बट अलॉन्ग विद दिस इफ वी चेक एनी ऑटो लेआउट एलिमेंट, जैसे ये हमारे ऑटो लेआउट वाला बटन, तो यहाँ पे हम देखेंगे तो ये जो फ्लो प्रॉपर्टी है जो कि नॉर्मल फ्रेम में फ्री फॉर्म को सेट रहती है, दैट इज नाउ सेट टू हॉरिजॉन्टल नाउ इंस्टेड ऑफ फ्री फॉर्म. इसका मतलब ये भी है कि जब भी किसी एलिमेंट में या फिर किसी फ्रेम में हम ऑटो लेआउट अप्लाई करते हैं, ऑटोमेटिकली हॉरिजॉन्टल फ्लो ऐड हो जाता है. ठीक है, उसका पर्पस हम बाद में देखेंगे, इसका डिफरेंस, इसका यूज़, इसका पर्पस हम बाद में देखेंगे, बट दैट इज द फर्स्ट चेंज. नाउ हियर एट द बॉटम, इंस्टेड ऑफ डायमेंशंस, you are seeing these resizing properties. It is still width and height only. But if you observe these two, width and the height, which is now Figma calling as a resizing properties instead of dimensions, is having this weird property set in front of the width and height pixel values. That is saying hug. So what is that? And along with that, these two values, जो कि width अभी suppose 159 है और height जो है अभी 62 को set है, these two, if you pay attention, this has become little bit of gray out, kind of a disabled, which is indicating that these pixel values or the height and the width of this particular कंटेनर इज नाउ गेटिंग कंट्रोल्ड बाय दिस हग प्रॉपर्टी। इसको अगर दूसरे किसी वैल्यूज के साथ कंपेयर करेंगे, जैसे ये टॉप में ये एक्स और वाई की वैल्यू है, तो ये एक्स और वाई जो है आपको एक ब्राइट वाइट कलर में दिख रहे हैं, पर ये जो विड्थ और हाइट है ये थोड़े से ग्रेइश दिख रहे, काइंड ऑफ सेइंग दैट, काइंड ऑफ इंडिकेटिंग दैट दीज आर डिसेबल्ड और नॉट इन फुल्ली कंट्रोल। तो ये हग प्रॉपर्टीज क्या है? दिस मीन्स दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर इज नाउ हगिंग इट्स कंटेंट। अभी इस केस में ये इसका कंटेंट क्या है? इसका कंटेंट है ये पर्टिकुलर टेक्स्ट। सो दैट मीन्स दिस पर्टिकुलर कंटेनर, दिस पर्टिकुलर ऑटो लेआउट फ्रेम इज नाउ हगिंग, दैट मीन्स स्टिकिंग टू इट्स कंटेंट, जो कि ये पर्टिकुलर टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट है। दैट इज वाई वेन एवर वी आर चेंजिंग द कंटेंट, ऑटोमेटिकली the auto layout container is also getting expanded or resized. But you might ask one question, okay, if this particular auto layout container is sticking to its content, but we can see some spacing there in between, ये जो टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट है अभी इसे में हमने सिलेक्ट किया है, तो ये तो इतना ही बॉक्स है, पर ये तो ऑटो लेआउट का कंटेनर तो इतना बड़ा है और उसके अंदर ये हॉरिजेंटल वर्टिकल ये एक्स्ट्रा स्पेसिंग भी है। देन हाउ इट इज स्टिकिंग और हगिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर कंटेंट? दैट इज हैपनिंग बिकॉज ऑफ द पैडिंग्स। तो यहाँ पे अगर हम इस पर्टिकुलर ऑटो लेआउट फ्रेम को फिर से सिलेक्ट करेंगे, देन you will see the padding sections here at the bottom, and you will see two types of paddings here. The first one is horizontal padding, which will be on the left and right side. Okay, जैसे माउस ओवर कर रहे हैं, the same padding are getting highlighted here. तो यहाँ पे ये जो कंटेंट है इसको छोड़ के यहाँ पे इसके अंदर ये राइट साइड में 53 का पैडिंग है और लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में 53 का पैडिंग है, इन द विच इज सेम गेटिंग इंडिकेटेड हियर। एंड इन द सेम वे देर आर वर्टिकल पैडिंग विच इज़ राइट नाउ सेट टू 7। तो यहाँ पे इस बटन में अगर टॉप में यहाँ पे देखते हैं तो टॉप में 7 का पैडिंग है और बॉटम में 7 का पैडिंग है। इफ़ वी रिमूव दिस पैडिंग, like I don't want any padding, so I will reset the horizontal padding to 0 and vertical padding to 0, enter. Then you will see this particular auto layout element is now totally sticking to its content. Now select this particular content, this OK content, and you will see this particular auto layout is cut to cut. टॉप और बॉटम में यहाँ पे स्पेस क्यों दिख रही है? क्योंकि वो तो टेक्स्ट के अंदर का ही स्पेसिंग है, राइट? But we do not have any extra space, extra padding here by default. That this proves that this particular auto layout element is following this hug width and hug height values. अब उसी के साथ में एक क्वेश्चन और है कि फाइन, तो वो जो अंदर की जो पैडिंग्स थे वर्टिकली हॉरिजॉन्टली 53 और वर्टिकली 7 की जो पैडिंग्स यहाँ पे ऑलरेडी थी, वो हमने तो ऐड नहीं की, तो ऑटोमेटिकली कैसे ऐड होगी? दैट गॉट एडेड बिकॉज, लेट मी अंडू दिस अगेन, अंडू। ओके, तो अभी यहाँ पे हॉरिजॉन्टली ये 53 की पैडिंग है लेफ्ट एंड राइट से और टॉप में 7 की पैडिंग है। तो जब ये ऑलरेडी एक फ्रेम था तो वो फ्रेम में ये जो कंटेंट है उसके आजू बाजू में जो भी स्पेसिंग अवेलेबल थी, दैट ऑटो लेआउट ऑलरेडी पिक्ड अप एंड दैट एडेड and it added those as a padding in this container, considering that we want those padding. So it did not changed the dimension of that original frame in respect to keeping the original frame's dimension intact. ओके, तो इस चीज़ से हमें ये तो समझ गया कि ये जो बटन है वो किस तरह से रिस्पॉन्सिव हो रही है। अगेन आई विल सिलेक्ट दिस ऑटो लेआउट और यहाँ पे ये जो पैडिंग है इनको मैं फिर से यहाँ पे 0 सेट करता हूँ। नाउ इफ़ वी चेंज द कंटेंट ऑफ दिस, अभी इसको ओके के जगह पे मैं बाय नाउ बटन करता हूँ, बाय नाउ, एंड यू विल सी दिस पर्टिकुलर बटन इज टोटली स्टिक टू इट्स कंटेंट, जो कि अभी बाय नाउ है। इफ़ वी इवन गो मल्टी लाइन, तो यहाँ पे मैं एंटर प्रेस करता हूँ, सेकंड लाइन पे आ जाता हूँ, buy now button, then you will see this proves that this particular auto layout container is now totally hugging its content with respect to height and width both. Let me come back to one line again and then again select this. फाइन, तो इससे ये हक प्रॉपर्टी किस तरह से काम करती है वो तो हमें समझ गया, और ये बटन किस तरह से अभी रिस्पॉन्स, अभी ये जो ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर है, ये ऑटो लेआउट बटन है, ये रिस्पॉन्सिव क्यों बिहेव कर रही है वो भी हमें समझ गया। पर कोई भी हम बटन जो है वो इस तरह से तो रखते नहीं है। रियल लाइफ एप्लीकेशन में जो बटन्स रहती है हमारी, वो हम इस तरह से तो रखते नहीं है। दिस इज लुकिंग बिट वियर्ड। वी ऑलवेज हैव सम पैडिंग फ्रॉम left and right and top and bottom, and if we want to set those padding, then here are the options. अभी horizontal में what padding I want, तो vertical में suppose मैं padding देता हूँ कुछ like 5 4, या फिर we can use this handle to increase or decrease this particular padding, और मुझे इस particular button के लिए like 6 की padding from top and bottom ठीक लग रही है। In the same way, I will change the horizontal padding also. Now, whenever we are creating any button, it is a good practice to have the horizontal padding at least double of the vertical padding. Again, not a hard and fast rule, but it is a good practice, to create a visually good looking button. तो अभी ये जो मेरी vertical padding है यहाँ पे वो 6 की है. That means the horizontal one I should have at least 12 or more than 12. So with respect to that, let me suppose have it something like 16. Let's try it. या फिर उससे भी थोड़ी ज़्यादा like 24. Okay, I like 24. Okay, I'm liking 24, so I'm keeping it 24. Now ये जो बटन है, let's we decided that this is how our button will look like, जिसके अंदर हम इस तरह से 24 की पैडिंग दोनों की तरफ से रखेंगे और 6 की पैडिंग जो है वो टॉप एंड बॉटम से रखेंगे, और उसके अंदर हमारा ये कंटेंट रहेगा. वी डिसाइडेड दिस पर्टिकुलर बटन नॉर्म्स, एंड आफ्टर दैट इफ वी आर मेकिंग अ कॉपी ऑफ दिस बटन and using this for any another, using the another button for any another example. So first of all, for the differentiation, I will quickly change the color of this to this bluish tone, and then I want to use this button as suppose OK button. So I will quickly change it. Now these two buttons will be similarly following our button norms or button rules and regulations, which we decided to have 24 as a horizontal padding and 6 and 6 as a top and bottom vertical padding. The same is, the same will be, consistent for all our buttons. So we don't have to worry about, setting the height and width, the side height and width and a internal spacing padding manually whenever we are taking help of the auto layout for creating this kind of a responsive buttons. अब उसी के साथ में ये जो paddings है उनको और डिटेल में समझ के लेते हैं. नाउ these two paddings are in grouped of horizontal and vertical. That means this particular horizontal padding will change the padding from horizontal side, and this particular will change both from top and bottom vertical side. But for some example, I'm not talking about particularly for button. And to be honest, the auto layout container, this auto layout we will not be using only for creating buttons. So for any another example, we want separate padding from each and every side. Then that also, we can do definitely. For that, here, if we are selecting this auto layout container, then right in front of this horizontal and vertical padding option, you will see this small option, this small icon which is saying individual padding. Once you click on that, this particular two paddings will get converted into 4 option padding. The first one is the left hand side padding, which will only going to change the left hand side paddings. The next one is the top one. The next is the right hand side padding, and the next one is the bottom side padding. So by using this, we can change all those paddings independently. And after setting the individual paddings, if we collapse this button, you will see these individual paddings now will be listed here by using comma. So here, if we talk about the horizontal padding, the first one will be of left, see this 18, and the next one will be of right, see this is 59. In the same way, the vertical paddings will be here also the comma separated. The first one will be the top padding, which is 12, and the next one is 13, which is at the bottom. Okay, in the same way, I want to make the horizontal padding equal and the vertical padding equal. Nothing is stopping me. I can just click here in the horizontal padding, and the horizontal padding I want suppose 16. I'll just enter 16 and hit enter. The horizontal padding will become 16. And in the same way, I want to change the vertical padding. I will click here and will change the vertical to suppose 8. I will enter 8, hit enter, and the vertical padding is now getting changed to 8. Again, the guidelines here and the background color is quite same. So to have a better visualization, let me change the background color to something different. For example, this kind of yellowish tone will do fine. Okay, and now here we can see these guidelines clearly. See, the top and bottom are 8 and the right and left are 16. But in some cases, suppose I want to change the all side padding and want to make it equal, or want to set that to one value in one go, that also we can definitely do. For that, if we check here this auto layout section and this padding, which is right now the horizontal and vertical padding, if we click on any of this padding by holding control key in the left corner, you will see here the control key I have pressed here, and by holding the control key, if I click in any of these padding text boxes, then you will see it will become as a one text box with all those 4 value here comma separated. And we can change all those values. Those will be the top, right, bottom, and left. We can change all those from here, but I want to make all those padding to suppose 10. I will just type 10 here, hit enter, and again once we hit enter, that one particular text box will again get separated into different text boxes. The one is horizontal padding and another one is vertical padding, just like before, but both of those will have the 10 value set, and the same we can confirm here on the visual side. और ऐसे नहीं है कि सिर्फ यहाँ पे जो ये पैडिंग के ऑप्शंस है ऑटो लेआउट में प्रॉपर्टीज पैनल में, उनको यूज करके ही हम पैडिंग चेंज कर सकते. We can change this padding by using this visual control also. If you like to change it visually, if you are more comfortable of changing this here on the visually, you can do that. Suppose I want to change this top padding, I'll just click this, hold, and then decrease or increase this. In the same way, suppose I want to change the right hand side padding or bottom padding or left hand side padding, I can do that. But in the same way, if we consider the example of this button, अब ये बटन के एग्जाम्पल में हमें जनरली टॉप एंड बॉटम, दैट मीन्स वर्टिकल पैडिंग एंड हॉरिजॉन्टल पैडिंग जनरली हम इक्वल रखते हैं. So I want to suppose now here in this case, if we are holding this particular control, then it is only changing one padding at a time. But I want to change 2 paddings in one go. अभी यहाँ पे अगर बटन में हमें हमेशा एक ही वैल्यू टॉप और बॉटम में रखनी होगी, तो अगर मुझे चेंज भी करना है, सपोज आई वांट टू चेंज दिस फ्रॉम 11 टू सपोज 16, तो यहाँ पे भी मुझे 16 को सेट करना होगा मैन्युअली, एंड द सेम वैल्यू आई वांट टू चेंज इट हियर अगेन each and every time. But I want to change these both equally in one go. In that case, what we can do, we just mouse over on any one of that, suppose top padding. While having this mouse on this, just hold Alter or Option key. Once you hold Alter and Option key, see in the corner you will see the Alter or Option key is pressed. You will immediately see the bottom, even though I have the mouse on the top padding here, the bottom padding is getting also highlighted, which is indicating now both the padding are selected. And if now if you change any of this padding, both of these padding will change simultaneously. You release the Alter key, you will see now the bottom padding is no more selected. Again, let me hold the Alter or Option key, and now if I'm changing this padding, see the both top and bottom padding are getting changed simultaneously. The same is the same is true about the horizontal padding also. अब यहाँ पे दोनों तरफ से अलग अलग padding है, does not matter even though that is a different padding. You just hold Alter on any of the horizontal padding, left or right. Once you hold, the another opposite padding will also get highlighted, and if you change, both of these will will just be equal and will going to be a same value here. तो अभी यहाँ पे अगर मैं इसको 18 में रखता हूँ, you will see right now the horizontal the right hand side padding also changed equal to the 18. So in this way, on the UI also quickly you can change the horizontal and vertical padding if you are not comfortable with playing this properties value here. तो अगर UI पे ही आपको क्विकली देखना है कि विजुअली मुझे कितनी पैडिंग ठीक लग रही है, सपोज मुझे ये 10 की पैडिंग जो है वर्टिकली वो ठीक लग रही है ऑन द विजुअल साइड, सो हियर ओनली आई कैन डिसाइड एंड आई विल लीव इट. So this is also good option. But as we have seen this, if you want to change all this padding in one go, तो यहाँ पे हम कंट्रोल को होल्ड करके जैसे हम क्लिक कर रहे थे तो ये सारे जो पैडिंग है वो एक ही टेक्स्ट बॉक्स में आ गए, एंड हियर इन वन गो वी चेंज्ड इट. In the same way, suppose here, instead of these two padding using Alter, if you want to change it, then of course here the control key will not work. If you hold the control key, nothing will going to happen. Only one padding will get changed. Here the combination is different. You just mouse over on any of the padding like this right padding, then the combination key you have to press for changing all side padding in one go on a visual is Alter and Shift. If you hold Alter and Shift, that means Option and Shift on Mac, you will see on the visual side all side padding is now selected or getting highlighted, which is indicating now if you change any padding, then all of this padding will get changed altogether. Now if I'm clicking on this and changing, all this padding will be instantly equal and will change to that same value from all the side. This is very handy to change all side padding in one go. Suppose I want to make all of those all side padding to 16, I will just leave it at 16. Now if you check, all side padding now become 16. This is how you can change the padding in a different way by using properties panel of photo layout and on the visual side also. Okay, अब लगे हाथों this, I hope this particular padding section is clear. अब लगे हाथों ये जो alignment section है उसको भी देख लेते हैं. Now here if you check this, by default this particular thing, this particular icon is set in the middle. That means right now this particular content is in center align, but which we can switch from any of these 9 position, this top left, top center, top right, or any of these 9 position. Now let's try setting this. So let me zoom out here a bit and let's align our button here, and let me select this button, and then suppose right now this content is here, this OK content is there, and I want to suppose align this on the right hand side. If I change the alignment to suppose right or left or suppose top left, Nothing is happening. Suppose top, suppose bottom right. Hmm. If you observe, this particular content is not changing. Now, why is that? This is happening because now here it's not like, this particular alignment property is not useful. It is happening, it is getting applied, but it is getting applied on this particular content. That means this particular text element, but this text element is not having any scope to move or getting aligned in this auto layout container. Why is that? Because this auto layout is set to hug, its height and width both are set to hug. That means this container is totally sticking or hugging its content. So only spacing here available is because of this padding, and this padding are fixed. That means this particular content has no way to move. The same, can we can confirm by, setting all this property. Let me, hold control and then click on this property and let me make it 0. Enter. Then you will see, if we are changing the alignment here, this particular OK text is not having any space to move or aligned on the left or right or top and bottom, because there is no space. Now, in this particular example, when the container is set to hug, the alignment is of no use. When this alignment will be useful? Those will be useful when we do not have this height and width set to hug and we set it to the fixed. That means, in some cases, we want our container of fixed height and width for some cases. Now, definitely, in this particular example, the hug is sounds to be a, suitable property. But suppose that is not our requirement and we are creating some another container, then we will definitely want to switch from this hug height and width to fixed one. How to set it to fixed? Then for that, here once you mouse over on either height or width, you will see a drop down here. And once you click on that, you will see currently there are two options here, the hug content and the fixed width. And right now it is set to hug content by default whenever we are switching any container to auto layout. If I want to make it to fixed, which is saying that, once you change it to the fixed, it will be 93 always. No matter the content of this element is getting changed, this will always be 93 pixel unless you are explicitly changing it. So suppose I want to change it to fixed. Now this is 93, and you observe, in comparison to this height, which is right now set to 48, which is still set to hug, you will see the 93 is now, first of all, that particular hug property is removed, and this particular 93 is now in bright white color, whereas this 48 value is still in a little bit of gray color, or kind of a indicating that this is still disabled or not in control. Now this particular width will is 94, and in the same way I want to set the height also to fixed, which is 48. Now here in this case, now this is fixed and fixed, the height and width is fixed. Now here, even though I am changing the content, suppose by now the width and height of this auto layout container will not going to change, will not be responsive. This, the height and width is now set to fixed. That means those always be those fixed position only, those fixed values only, which is already set there. So in this case, now this is auto layout, this is still auto layout, but the height and width, we can, if we want to change it, then we need to change this manually like this. And after this, whatever we are setting here, suppose we are setting it to 200 width and suppose 100 height, those always will be this particular values only. After this, even though I'm changing the value here to suppose okay, this height and width will not going to change. Now again, let me undo to the position where it was hug, set to hug. Okay, right now it is set to hug again. Okay, and the content is again, something different. Let me undo once more where it was okay. Okay, now suppose we have undo all the changes which we made um, on this, and initially again it is set to hug and hug. Now one more thing, we have seen if we want to make it fixed, then we can just change this from hug to fixed. But if this particular auto layout container is there, which is right now set to hug, that means this particular height and width of this is getting controlled by the content. So suppose if we are changing the content, obviously the container is getting changed, and this is still set to hug. But if here, instead of changing those fixed value from this drop down of this height and width, if we are changing the dimension of this particular button by dragging this, by resizing this from here, then also it will automatically switch to the fixed values from hug. Now here you have to pay attention. Right now it is set to hug and hug with this value. The moment I'm increasing the dimension by using this, by resizing this, all these two value are changed, and now it got shifted from hug to fixed. To confirm this, once open this drop down, you will see now these are set to fixed width and fixed height. Now this is another way, now this is another point to remember. Even though the auto layout container is set to hug properties, if we change that particular container, if we change the dimension of that particular container manually, it will get converted to fixed height and width automatically. Now with that in mind, let me increase the height and width of this button now, like this. And after this, if we are changing the alignment, now here instead of center, I want to change it to left, then this particular content will now get aligned to left, center, or any of these nine position we can set it like this. Now here, in this type of a situation, the alignment are useful, but in case of a button, we definitely would want it in a center. तो उसी तरह से हमारे जो हाई फिडिलिटी डिजाइन है, उनमें ये जो बटन है जो कि हमने फ्रेम यूज करके बनाए हैं, उनको भी ऑटो लेआउट यूज करके रिस्पॉन्सिव बटन बना लेते हैं. So for that, here let's make let's start with this particular all product button. तो उसके लिए अभी मैं यहाँ पे एक दूसरी टेक्निक आपको बताता हूँ. सो डेफिनेटली वी कैन use this button and then can convert it into auto layout, and we can go with that. But um, let me show you my way of creating any button. तो उसके लिए मैं क्या करता हूँ, सबसे पहले ये जो लेबल है, ओके, उसी तरह से एक टेक्स्ट लेबल ले लेते हैं. So this is the label in which I have all my typography, everything set. Right now we are using this particular style here for this particular text, which is our body text all cap. इसकी अगर डिटेल देखना है, so we can go into this setting, and then we can see this is our urbanist font, which this is our the primary font which we choose for this particular demo application. This is bold and 16 pixel. Fine. Now I decided my particular label style. तो ये जो लेबल स्टाइल है, अब इसे हम यहाँ पे लेयर्स पैनल में देखते हैं. तो दिस इज द टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट, एंड ऑन दिस टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट आई विल ऐड ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर. जनरली अभी पिछले एग्जांपल में हमें किस तरह से देखा था, एक फ्रेम हम ऐड करते हैं, उसके अंदर एक लेबल ऐड करते हैं, देन वी कन्वर्ट दैट पर्टिकुलर फ्रेम इनटू ऑटो लेआउट. But we can go in a reverse way also. Suppose I have this particular content ready, then here on top of this I can add one auto layout. Now here, if you go here into layout section of this particular text element, you will not going to see any option of adding auto layout, which if you are selecting this particular frame, here you will see this particular option. But there is another way also of adding auto layout. If you right click on any of this frame, then here you get an option to add auto layout, which is the shortcut key is shift A. and you can follow this particular method. Now here, on top of this particular text element, I want to add auto layout, so I can add the auto layout by using that option. So I will right click, and then here I will use that. I will And here I will find that option called add auto layout, or I can also use the shortcut key shift A. So let me add the auto layout on this. Once the auto layout added, here in the layers panel, you will see one frame got added on top of this all product text element, and that particular frame is just having an auto layout option enabled, or in another word, we can also call that as an auto layout frame. This is just the name is frame 1 because that is a default one, and we already saw auto layout is nothing but just a frame with some extra auto layout related elements or properties added. Under the hood, it is just a frame. So here by default it is having frame 1 as a name. We can rename it to, for example, button all products, all products al auto layout. Now here you will see the same kind of a container got added, but again, as this is just a frame, we have already saw one thing about the frame. Whenever we add any frame inside any another outer frame, this outer page is actually one frame. Then that those kind of frame do not have any background by default in it, or any field in it. So here you will see there is no field, but we can definitely add one field. So we can add by using this plus button, and then we can change it to any color, or let me even remove this. We can just select this particular frame, and we can use the eyedropper tool by using I button. So I and this eyedropper tool got selected, and I want this particular color here. So I will select that color, and that color got applied. Now I want the similar style of this particular button on this. So again, I will not going to check each and individual style of this, and will going not going to copy this individually. I can just select this particular frame. From here I will right click, I will go copy paste as, and here I will just use this copy property option. Just copy the property. I will select this auto layout frame. I will right click on this again, I will go into copy paste as, and then I will just paste the property. All those particular property will get added here. That's the one thing. Now again, that actually messed up all our padding and all those rest of the things, which we need to make it right. So we can do that manually. Right now, see, the width is still set to hug, the height is actually fixed one. So we need to set it to hug content. That is the first thing. Now of course, the height will go away because we have set it to fix the hug value, and the padding is set to 0. Now the padding, we will define our own padding. Here, what kind of padding I want? Vertically, suppose I want 6 padding, and horizontally, let me see. I am thinking to have around 20 pixel of padding. So this, I will decide. It's like comparing rest of the buttons. So here I'm finding the vertical and the horizontal padding is bit less. So I will increase the vertical first of all, and I think the vertical padding of 10 is looking good, closely matching to this original button which we created. And horizontally, let me set it to suppose 28 is looking good. Fine. So I will go with these two values, and I will finalize this as my button. Now, of course, as a field, as we copied all the properties and everything, all those style also got copied. So here you will see the field is actually set to accent tint, which are all the color styles which we already created in the color style um, class. So here on the original button, all these styles already got applied here on this. So the same actually, got copied on this. So this is the benefit of using those copy paste property option. So we don't need to copy each and individual property separately. Okay, so I got this button here, and this is looking good. And in the same way, I will just, cut this particular button from here. I will select this older button, which is, which just the hard coded button using frame, and I will just right click and then paste to replace. So I will just paste that button on the top of this. Now here you will see this is the auto layout button all products AL, that is auto layout. So I got my auto layout button here. The next thing, I want to change this particular my orders button to. So for that, again I will copy this button also. Right click, copy, or just use Control C to copy, and to this my orders here also, I will just paste to replace. So right click, use the option paste to replace, or I always use this shortcut key Control Shift R. So I will select this, I will use Control Shift R, and I got this particular button pasted here on top of, in exact that particular position only. So I don't need to worry about deleting the previous button, or and finding the exact position for this newly added button. Now I'm quite sure and relaxed that this particular pasted button is actually just pasted on top, at the same position only. So I don't have to worry about positioning anymore. Now this particular button, we have to change it to this kind of a my order button. That is one thing. So the first thing is the label. So we can definitely change the label quickly. So this is my orders. So label got changed. Another thing is the style also we need to change. So here in this case we just don't need, as this is our this my order is our secondary button, we just don't need this field. So here what I will do, I will just remove the field from here, and we are done. In the same way, I will copy this my orders button from here. I will select this my orders button here, and I will use Control Shift R to replace this. And I got my orders button at both the places, which are my, you know, I can see the auto layout related button. Let me rename these also quickly. Now these are my orders auto layout button, and this is also, I will rename quickly. This is also my orders button. In the same way, let's copy this my product button. Okay, and because I want similar kind of a button here at for this home. So here again I will use Control Shift R to replace this, and here the only thing we have to do is just edit this label to my home, and we are done. Now all these button we switch to auto layout button. अब नेक्स्ट, ये जो ये जो हमारे ऐप डिज़ाइन है, उसके लिए मुझे एक मोबाइल नेविगेशन बनाना है. So here, once we click on this particular hamburger menu button, then one mobile navigation should open here. Let's make a design of that. तो यहाँ पे उसके लिए मैं एक फ्रेम लूँगा, एंड आई विल जस्ट ड्रॉ वन फ्रेम. और इसकी हाइट और विड्थ कितनी रहेंगी, कैसे रहेंगी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट्स नेम दिस एंड लेट्स कॉल दिस एज नेविगेशन. और ये जो नेविगेशन वाला विंडो है वो यहाँ पे इस तरह से ओपन होगा. और इसकी जो विड्थ है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो हमारी जो डिज़ाइन है उसकी विड्थ से एग्जैक्ट मैच रहेंगी, बिकॉज इट विल बी ऑन टॉप ऑफ दिस. और उसकी जो हाइट है वो लगभग 40 to 50% रहेंगी, डिपेंडिंग ऑन अवर कंटेंट इन इट. तो ये हमारा हाइट और विड्थ इसके लगभग रेडी हो गई है. लेट मी कीप इट हियर एंड लेट्स स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन दिस. सो जस्ट सिलेक्ट दिस एंड यूज शिफ्ट टू, एंड इट इज हियर. अब इसके अंदर मुझे उस तरह की नेविगेशंस बनाने हैं. द फर्स्ट थिंग आई विल स्टार्ट विद द टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट. तो यहाँ पे एक टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट लेके द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन इन द मोबाइल नेविगेशन आई वांट इज होम. तो ये होम में यहाँ पे लिख लेता हूँ. And the text property here is like I will be using this body text all caps. This is good because I want 16. इसकी properties भी देख लेते हैं अंदर. Urbanist font, which is our primary font, I want to use that font only. 16 pixel ही मुझे font size रखनी है and it should be bold. So this particular body text all cap style is good for me. So I will go with that. तो ये एक एलिमेंट यहाँ पे बन चुका है. Now, even before going further, let me select this and let me first of all add the auto layout on this, because of course we will going to use auto layout on this. So right click on this and then use auto layout, or just use the shortcut key shift A. Here in the layers panel, pay attention. Right now in this navigation frame, we only have this text which is saying home, and once we add the auto layout, it is now getting converted into auto layout frame. That means, or we can say, one auto layout frame got added on top of this text, and this got default name as frame 1. Let's change this and let's call this as um, auto layout container. Okay, that is the first thing. Now here, um along with that, let me give a background. Okay, just to differentiate between our container, the outside frame, and this particular auto layout container, I will add one field here. तो जैसे कि हमने देखा कि अभी ये जो ऑटो लेआउट मतलब एक फ्रेम ही है, किसी दूसरे किसी पेरेंट फ्रेम के अंदर हम कोई दूसरी फ्रेम ऐड करते हैं, चिल्ड्रन फ्रेम ऐड करते हैं, तो उस केस में उसको कोई फील नहीं होता है बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट, बट वी कैन ऐड वन फील्ड. So let me add one field in, somewhat, let's give any, this kind of a orange color, suppose. Hmm. Okay, little bit of bold, fine. तो ये जो एक ऑप्शन है हमारा होम का, उसी के साथ में मुझे दूसरे भी नेविगेशन आइटम हमारे नेविगेशन मेनू में चाहिए रहेंगे. So what I will do, I will just double click and will select this particular element, or just select it from this layers panel, and I will just duplicate this by using Control D as a shortcut key. And we got the duplicate of this particular home element here. And I will rename this, and let's call this as all products, suppose. The second navigation element I want for navigating to the all products page. और ऐसे नहीं है कि सिर्फ इस तरह से डुप्लीकेट करके ही हम एलिमेंट ऐड कर सकते हैं. वी कैन ऐड एनी अनदर एलिमेंट ऑल्सो, एंड इट्स नॉट लाइक वी कैन ऐड सिमिलर टाइप ऑफ एलिमेंट्स ओनली. यहाँ पे लेट मी ऐड वन रेक्टेंगल लाइक दिस. और ये जो रेक्टेंगल है इसको मैं एक कलर दे देता हूँ, फॉर एग्जांपल दिस काइंड ऑफ अ कलर. एंड आई कैन जस्ट drag this particular element here and can add it just like that. See, तो यहाँ पे ये जो ब्लू कलर की लाइन दिख रही है, अगर यहाँ पे मैं इसे छोड़ देता हूँ, दैट पर्टिकुलर रेक्टेंगल एलिमेंट विल गेट एडेड हियर. ओके, and we can select any element from here, and we can rearrange these elements by using arrow key also. So we can just use left and right arrow key like this to rearrange these elements, or we can just select this element and can drag and can rearrange this just like that. So those things are possible. In the same way, we can add any another element. Suppose we have one line, and I want to add one line here like this small line. I can just drag this line here inside this at whichever position I want, and I can leave it. I got that particular line added here like this. अब यहाँ पे एक प्रॉब्लम है. इफ़ वी टॉक अबाउट अवर नेविगेशन, तो हमारे जो मोबाइल के नेविगेशन आइटम्स है वो तो हमें वर्टिकल में चाहिए, राइट. बट यहाँ पे ये जो सारे एलिमेंट्स जो फ्लो हो रहे हैं वो तो हॉरिजेंटल में हो रहे हैं. So how can we make this particular elements flow in vertical direction? For that, we can use the flow property of this auto layout. In this case, this flow property comes into picture. Now, as we discussed very initially, whenever we add auto layout on any frame or any container. Initially, by default, it gets set to horizontal flow, but we can always change it to vertical flow. Here, right now in horizontal flow, all the elements are flowing horizontally. But if we change it to vertical flow, in this way, we can change from horizontal to vertical at any time. Now, here, this is how we want our elements to flow. तो यहाँ पे again we will resize. Now our home element will be at the top. उसके बाद में all products रहेगा. ये blue element का हमें कुछ काम नहीं है, but you know we understood कि इसमें कोई दूसरे तरह के elements भी हम add कर सकते हैं. And in the same way, I want to duplicate. I can again, create another element text outside and can drag it inside, or can just duplicate this for my convenience. So I will duplicate this. The next element I will call as my order, suppose the next menu element, the menu atom. और उसी तरह से नेक्स्ट मेनू एटम जो है मेरा रहेगा अगेन कंट्रोल डी एंड द नेक्स्ट वन विल बी my profile, and again control D, and the final will be settings. Okay, बाद में अगर और मेनू एलिमेंट्स अगर और एलिमेंट्स लग रहे हैं तो we can definitely add anytime. And what I want to do, we can again remove this particular line, or I can just use it here as I can say, a divider or differentiator here. For that I will just select this line, और इसका जो स्ट्रोक है मैं 2 पिक्सल सेट कर देता हूँ. एंड अगेन आई विल चेंज इट्स स्टार्टिंग एंड एंडिंग पॉइंट फ्रॉम नन टू राउंड like this. Okay, and we got our small menu ready. There is again, one problem is like this outside is our, total navigation frame, और ये जो अंदर के जो एलिमेंट है वो तो हमारा इतना छोटा सा ही बन रहा है. देन फॉर दैट what we can do, one thing we can do is we can increase the padding horizontal and vertical. तो यहाँ पे vertical और horizontal padding हम इतनी बढ़ा सकते हैं so that it will match the horizontal and vertical spacing. But again that will not be convenient because वो जो horizontal और vertical padding जो है वो हमेशा fix रहेगी. And later on, suppose if we are adding any more element, then we will run out of space because these paddings will not going to adopt it automatically. Then for that, how we can do that? So for that we need to what we need to do, let me set this control click and then set this padding to 0. That is the first thing. And then I will change this particular auto layout container from hug to fixed. So I will set align this from top and left, and I will increase its height and width and will match it to our outside container exactly. Now this is our one thing. Now the next thing is ये यहाँ पे इस तरह से हमारा जो नेविगेशन है वो पूरी तरह से आ गया है एंड इट इज़ लुकिंग गुड. द ओनली थिंग, ये जो सारे एलिमेंट्स है वो एक दूसरे के बहुत ही पास है. I want some, space in between these elements. Now here, I do not want any space from top and bottom or left and right. I want space in between the elements or the childrens of auto layout. How can we add that? We can definitely add that. For that, we need to select this auto layout container in which we have all these childrens, not this outer frame, this navigation frame, the container frame. We need to select this auto layout container, and then here in the auto layout section you will see one more property here, gap, which by default which whenever we add auto layout by default it sets to 10 pixel, but we can increase this. Once you mouse over on that, it is saying vertical gap between objects, and once we mouse over on that, you here in the visual side you will see those particular inner gaps are getting highlighted with pink lines. So if I'm increasing this, then you will see the gap between all those children elements are getting increased now, like this. So this is how we can increase or decrease the gap. Suppose I want, like, 26 pixel in between these, so that we can definitely set it. And now when this particular container, auto layout container, is no more set to hug properties, we can always play with the alignments too. Suppose we want left hand side, left align, right aligned, or top align, or bottom align, whatever the alignment we want of this contents of this auto layout, we can set it to. In this particular case, I want it in center, but definitely we can change it. Now the next thing here, what I want, um here I want little bit of more spacing, so I can increase this. Suppose 40 pixel is looking good, okay. But later on, suppose if we are designing this for smaller mobile phones, so to make this mobile navigation responsive, we need to select this navigation frame, the outer container. And then, in case suppose we are designing for smaller devices where the width is less, the phone width is less, then we need to we need to decrease the width of this particular frame. Now here, you can see the width of this frame is getting decreased, but the inner layout container, this auto layout container, is still having that particular fixed height and width only. Now how to solve this problem? This problem we can definitely solve by using constraints. So let me undo this, and here now we have the same height and width of this outer frame and this auto layout container. Now I will select this auto layout container from here, and right now currently this auto layout container is set to left, top and left constraint, but we want to hold its position, or we want this auto layout container to remember its position from all the side. If this outer container, this outer frame is getting resized, we want this inner container also get resized automatically. So for that, what we need to do, instead of top, we need to set it to top plus bottom, and instead of left only, we need to set it to left plus right. Now it will remember its position from all the side. It will so it will respect the resizing of its parent container. Now if we are selecting this navigation frame, and now if we are changing the dimension of it, automatically you will see the inner element, the inner auto layout container is also changing its dimension. Let me undo. Now this particular navigation element is responsive, but there is still one problem. See, I'm selecting the outer navigation frame, and suppose we are designing for a smaller phone where the height and width is smaller. So suppose we are having this much width available. Now here the problem is, if we select this auto layout container, and if we see these elements, the gap between these elements is more comparatively, and we do not have any healthy space from outer side. Now obviously we can fix this, we just need to decrease the gap. So we will select the auto layout container here, and then we will decrease the gap a bit. So suppose in this particular height, we are thinking like 26 should be good. And let's have hard coded um padding spacing here, so that it will not going to stick anytime. So vertically, suppose horizontally I definitely want, or from all the side, let me hit control and click, and from all the side I want at least suppose 16 pixel of padding from all the side, the save padding, and inside that this all content can be there. So I'll add the 16 pixel from all the side, and I'm good. But again, now if um again we are suppose building for a bigger size phones, and in that case we need to again increase the height dimension of this. And if we are changing the dimension here, then again the same problem here is, all these elements um, are having a less space as compared to the outer spacing available. So what I want, depending on the height available here, the spacing inside this should automatically be adjusted. It should automatically take the available spacing there, even though my outer container is getting resized, decreased, or increasing the height. Then we can do that um, by using the gap property. So how can we do that? For that, we need to select the auto layout container again, and then here, instead of playing with this hard coded gap pixels, what we can do, we can set it to auto. To set it to auto, just open this drop down of this gap, and here you will see the second option as auto. If we set it to auto, now pay attention here in the existing spacing available, and if I set to auto, it will automatically stretch to the it will automatically stretch and will consume all the available space and will divide it in between all those elements. Now here, if you see, the spacing in between these are now set to auto. It is not showing any hard coded pixel, but it is set to auto, and it is automatically dividing the available space, and it is all stretching to the top and bottom available space. Here you will see only this particular padding which we actually added here as only left, and rest of the all spacing is got consumed by all these elements. And if here, if we remove this padding altogether, make it 0, then you will see all the available spacing is now got consumed here by these elements and getting divided in between this. But sticking all this in the top is not looking good. Having these elements sticking all top and bottom is not looking good. We definitely do want here some padding, so vertical padding especially. So I will have some padding here, and let's see, suppose at least 30 pixel or 34 pixel is looking good. And now here, if we select this navigation element, the outer frame, and later on, if it is changing its dimension, like less or more, see, automatically we will see these elements are getting responsive. These elements are adjusting the space between these, and we don't need to worry about changing the gap between those elements manually. When it is on the bigger size, automatically the spacing between these elements will get increased, and if it is on a smaller devices, then automatically spacing will get decreased. Now again, if we select this auto layout container here, and if we pay attention here in the alignment, you will see there is some difference here. Now here you are seeing, if we click on the left hand side, all these elements will get aligned to the left. Obviously it is sticking all the way to the wall of this container because there is no horizontal padding right now we added. But here again, the left alignment is making effect. In the same way, we can set it to right align. But if you pay attention, we can now we cannot set it to the top align or bottom align. If we click on top and bottom, it is not allowing us. And why is that? And it is actually making sense. Why? If you see, right now the inner spacing is set to auto. That means all the vertical spacing got consumed by this vertical padding, the content or the children's, and the inner spacing or the gap between this. So there is no vertical spacing remaining for these elements or this content to align vertically, or align or getting aligned vertically. That is why this particular alignment section is now only getting switched from horizontal, getting switched or getting aligned in the horizontal options only, and the vertical options are disabled. And when again, if you set this gap from auto to suppose hard coded like 26, again you will see this particular gap is no more auto. And right now, if you see, all these 9 elements are now getting activated. Now we can set it to top, center, or bottom. But again, if we have this to auto, obviously there is no spacing vertically. So obviously, the vertical alignment will go away. There is one more option, there is one more way. By using, you can set this gap to auto quickly. Here in this alignment, if you quickly double click these three lines, which were there in the middle, will get stretched out, and this gap will automatically set to auto, and here you will see the same effect. Again, you double click on this, it will again set to hard coded pixel, or the auto will remove. In this way, we can quickly set it to auto by using this particular shortcut key. Just double click on this, set to auto, just double click again, and set it to hard coded pixel value. So this is again another value. This is again another useful shortcut to use to quickly switch between the auto gap. Again, if you pay attention right now, this gap is there, which we can control from here. And suppose I'm decreasing here, and you will see all these elements are right now set to vertical flow, and then it is this particular gap is showing vertical gap between the objects. But if this particular flow is horizontal, that means all these elements are now flowing horizontally, then this gap will say horizontal gap between the objects. So now this particular gap is the horizontal gap. Due to some bug in Figma, right now this particular handle is not working. So we need to use this value, manual value. I'm holding shift and up and down to increase or decrease it with 10 pixel gap. But again, you can see the right now this gap is now changing the horizontal gap between the objects, because the flow direction is now horizontal instead of vertical. So this is again point to remember. चलिए तो और कुछ एग्जांपल्स देखते हैं। तो यहाँ पे अभी ये लेयर्स पैनल में कुछ भी नहीं है, दिस इज टोटली ब्लैंक। तो यहाँ से मैं अभी एक रेक्टेंगल लेता हूँ, एंड लेट्स ड्रॉ वन रेक्टेंगल। ओके, तो यहाँ पे ये 100 by 100 का रेक्टेंगल यहाँ पे एक बना लेता हूँ, एंड लेट मी मेक अ कॉपी ऑफ दिस, होल्ड अल्टर एंड शिफ्ट, और यहाँ पे और एक कॉपी बना लेता हूँ मैं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल 40 के डिस्टेंस में। एंड अगेन control or command D to duplicate that action, which will create another rectangle with that particular gap, which will indicate the duplication of the previous command. Okay, quickly इन तीनों को तीन यूनिक कलर कुछ असाइन कर देते हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, लाइक सपोज दिस, द सेकंड कलर, लेट्स मेक दिस इस तरह का कोई पिंक कलर ले लेते हैं, एंड द थर्ड विल बी इस तरह का कोई एक कलर ले लेते हैं। ओके, वी गॉट दिस थ्री बॉक्सेस। ओके, नाउ what I will do, I will select all these three boxes, and then I will just add auto layout on this. So just right click and then add auto layout, or just use the shortcut key shift A. So click on this, and here you will see previously those were only three rectangles, and now one auto layout frame got added on top of that, and now these three rectangle now became the children of that particular auto layout frame. Let me rename this, and let's call this as auto layout container, AL container. Okay, so here this particular rectangle, we can call this as yellow rectangle. The next one is, this is like pink rectangle, and the next one is, this is suppose green kind of a rectangle. Okay, we got these three rectangles in this auto layout container, where we can definitely decrease this particular spacing in between that. But along with this, here we have all these auto layout properties available. Now along with this, what I will do, I will add some padding here. So suppose control click, and I want 20 pixel padding from all the side. We got it here. The next thing, I will add some background color to my auto layout container. So here we do not have any fill here. Let's add some fill. By default, it added white fill. Fine, that is absolutely fine for my this example. Okay, and we are good as of now. What I will do, I will, as this is a light background, the white background, I will darken these all colors so that we can see it better. And the third one too. Third one is already quite dark. So these are good. Fine. The next thing here, what we want whenever we are increasing or decreasing this particular auto layout container, what is happening? These all boxes here, rectangles, are just of size 100 by 100 pixel. Okay, so those are there at their position, but this particular container is getting increased or decreased like this. So here, if we are increasing or decreasing, this is getting increased, and there is some kind of, we can say, white spacing, the empty space there. What what do I want? Whenever I'm increasing or decreasing this particular spacing, I do not want any empty space here. If I do not want any empty space, then what exactly I would like to have there? Then what I want there, I want this particular rectangle should feel this particular empty area, or occupy this particular spacing, so that there will not be any odd spacing here. Now how can we do that? We can definitely do that. For this, we just need to select this rectangle, and here what we need to do, we need to change its width. Hard coded हम कर सकते हैं, like we can increase that, but again that will not going to solve our problem. What we want here, if you open the width of the children, okay, the children box here, if we open this particular width dimension box here, right now it is set to fixed width, which is 100 pixel right now, but there you will get the second option, which is saying field container. And here, once you mouse overing on this field container option, here on the visual side it is indicating that it will going to fill this particular whole width by using that red arrow. Now let's select this field container option, and what exactly is happening? This is of course filling all the available width in this auto layout container. Now why it is not sticking all together on the right? Because we already know we have that particular padding got applied, but it is filling all the available width from this particular gap to all the available width on the right hand side. So now if we are increasing or decreasing the width of this container, automatically this green rectangle will going to fill all the space, and there will not be any weird empty space now in this container. This this is this is where the fill property comes into picture. Okay. Now this particular rectangle, if we select this, it is saying the first one is width, which is 361, which is now set to fill, and by height is 100, which is fixed. So the height is fixed, obviously, but the width is fill. अब उसी तरह से ये जो मेरा येलो वाला बॉक्स है, ये इस रेक्टेंगल को भी मुझे fill प्रॉपर्टी सेट करना है. So I will select this, and here the width, which is right now set to 100 pixel fixed, I will go into this drop down and will set it to fill container. And once I mouse over on this, here this rectangle will indicate with this red indication that it will going to fill all the available width. So let's select this. Now here in this example, what exactly happened? When multiple elements in any auto layout container are set to fill property, what happens? It actually takes all the available width and then distribute it equally between all those elements which are set to fill. Now, here, apart from this one, this pink rectangle which is set to 100 by 100 fixed, it will not going to change. But these two rectangles, whatever the available width are there, it is getting divided, and now these two are feeling those equally. Now if you pay attention, see, here the width is 230.5, and this is also, 230.5. If later on, if this AI container, this AL container, auto layout container, is getting changed, automatically you will see these two are filling those equally. Now this is again, 287.5, this is again 287.5. This is one point to remember about the fill property. Now the next requirement which I have is, fine, whenever we are increasing or decreasing the auto layout container, automatically the spacing is getting filled equally by this green and yellow rectangle, which is fine. But now what I want, when we are, decreasing this particular width, then what is happening when there is a lesser space, then these two are, going down, because these are set to fill. But what is my requirement here? It is not looking good. What I want, this particular green rectangle should not go below 100 pixel. This is my requirement. Now how can I achieve that? That I can definitely achieve uh, by using min and max property. So for that, I need to select this particular green box, and then here go into this field. Right now, see, just like, in the previous example, the container, this auto layout container, which is, which we can set to hug. Okay, so the hug properties generally apply on the auto layout container, the parent element. But this fill property is, applicable for the children. The children can feel, the parents can hug. This is the difference you have to remember. Okay, so the fill property you will not going to get for the parent container, parent auto layout container, and the hug property will, of course, will not going to find here for in the children's. So these are two different property, one for the parent, hug for the parent, and fill for the children's. Now here again, right now this width of this green rectangle is set to fill, fine. But once you expand this drop down box, here at the bottom, here at the top, you are seeing this fixed width and fill container, but at the bottom you will see this add min width property and add max width property. So let me click on this add minimum width, and I want this particular rectangle to go minimum to 100 pixel but not below that. So here this minimum width I will set to 100 pixel and just hit enter. And here immediately two things will happen. Here this W will have two lines on both the side, and here also, this particular rectangle will have this indication both the side, this red lines, and here at the bottom minimum width is set to 100 pixel. And you will observe, you might have observed, if you have not, just rewind this particular video to 5 to 10 seconds, and you will see this particular rectangle was initially of this particular width, but now it has become 100 pixel width, because it now, this particular rectangle has a restriction not to go below 100 pixel. Now if I select this auto layout container, and if I am increasing or decreasing the spacing, see, this green rectangle will go down until it reaches the 100 pixel. Once it reaches the 100 pixel, it will indicate those two lines from both the side, which is the indication that this particular element has a minimum width restriction, and this is the limit, and it has reached that minimum limit. Now if I'm decreasing, this particular yellow box will go down, but not this green box. Now this is how we can control the min and max. This is how we can, set the minimum width constraint. Now in the same way, what do I want? I want this particular yellow rectangle not to go beyond 200 pixel. Okay, right now it is set to 254. Fine. So I can select this yellow rectangle, and in the same way, see here in the layout, the width is still set to fill. In this same drop down box, we have this option called max width, add max width. Just click on this, and we will get one extra field here to set the max width property. And I want maximum width for this rectangle is 200 pixel. I will set it and hit enter, and immediately you have to pay attention here. I have not pressed enter 8 in this max width text box, and you will see the current width of this particular rectangle is 254. The same is here at the top, and once I hit enter, you will see the width has now become 200 because it is capped to 200. Same is here, and you will see this particular red line from both the side, and in the red it is indicating max width is set to 200, and the same two lines are appearing here to this around this w, indicating that the max or min width properties are now set for this particular dimension. और उसी के साथ में अगर इस ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर का जो विड्थ है हम इंक्रीज करते, तो वी कैन सी ये जो ग्रीन रेक्टेंगल है वो अभी एक्सपैंड हो रहा है. नाउ दिस हैज गॉन बियॉन्ड 353, इट इज नाउ 383, but this particular yellow rectangle is now capped to 200 pixel width only. So this is how this is these are really useful property, especially when we are designing the responsive containers. You will see ये जो येलो रेक्टेंगल है ये 200 पिक्सल के ऊपर नहीं जाएगा, एंड इन द सेम वे this particular green rectangle which will not go below 100 pixel. So these are the restrictions. Now again, the next thing, if we are if you are decreasing the width here, then what is happening? ये दोनों जो है वो 100 पिक्सल पे कैप हो गए. ये जो है येलो वाला जो बेचारा पूरी तरह से उसने विड्थ डिक्रीज कर दी, उसके बाद में उसको जगह ही नहीं है. और उसके बाद में अभी ये कंटेनर अगर फिर से हम छोटा कर रहे हैं, तो ये सारे जो एलिमेंट है वो ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर के बाहर जा रहे हैं. नाउ हियर व्हाट डू आई वांट कि ये जो एलिमेंट है वो एक्चुअली यहाँ पे नीचे जगह है, नीचे ऊपर वर्टिकल स्पेसिंग है, तो ये जो एलिमेंट है वो नीचे क्यों नहीं शिफ्ट हो रहा है? आई वॉन्ट दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट व्हेन देयर इज नो स्पेस शुड ऑटोमेटिकली रैप एट द बॉटम. इफ दैट इज माई रिक्वायरमेंट, that also we can achieve. For that we need to select this auto layout container, and here in the auto layout properties, when we are in the horizontal flow, then right in the front you will see one option called wrap. If we select this option, you will see quickly that particular element which was not fitting there got wrapped automatically, and now this particular wrap option is now enabled. Now this changes a lot of things. Now here, if you are selecting this auto layout container and increasing the space, and at the time where this particular auto layout container is able to fit all the elements, it will be in one line, and there is and everything will be as usual. But the moment it cannot take that particular element anymore there, it will automatically it will automatically wrap that element. And again, this particular green element is set to fill, so obviously it is taking full available width in the next row. And here if we are decreasing the width again, then the same story going to happen. So this is again, this particular wrap element is again a really good option. Once we enable this wrapping option, you will see the alignment actually, the alignment symbol here got changed. If this in the alignment section, when we do not have this wrap enable, let me disable this, you will see this kind of a three lines. And when we have this wrapping enable, then you will see this kind of a wrapping icon. If that particular wrapping icon, if you are seeing in the alignment, that means the wrapping is now enabled. Okay. Now that is the thing, we can always set it to right, left, and right now that will not going to affect here because everything is set to fill. But yeah, this is how the options will be there. But once we enable the wrapping option, then here in the gap section, along with the horizontal gap, which was the only option there in the previous case when the flow is set to horizontal, you will see one more option which is saying vertical gap between the rows. The previous one is the horizontal gap between the objects, and which is actually the horizontal gap between the objects available here. But the next one is saying vertical gap between the rows. Now here we have two rows. Now that the bottom will be the vertical gap between the rows. Now here at this point, these both are set to 31, and you will see this vertical gap between the rows is now somewhat grayed out. What is it indicating? That this particular vertical gap is now attached to the horizontal gap. That means if we are changing the horizontal gap, you will see the vertical gap is automatically changing both here and in the visual side. Pay attention here. So of course the horizontal gap is also changing. Same you can see here. Now here, what do I want? I want the horizontal gap 50 pixel, but I want to decrease the vertical gap between these two rows independently. For that, what we can do, we just need to set that custom property here in vertical gap manually. Suppose I want the vertical gap to be only of 20 pixel. I will set the 20, hit enter, and you will see now the vertical gap is 20, whereas the horizontal gap between the object is still 50. And one more point to notice here, now this particular vertical gap is no more that grayed out connected property. Now this is individual. After this, if you are changing the horizontal gap, see, the vertical gap is not changing anymore along with that. Now these two properties are disconnected. These are no more connected anymore. The same you can control from on this visual side also. Here suppose you want to change the horizontal gap or vertical gap differently, you can do that. Now again, I want to connect this particular vertical gap to the horizontal gap. How can I do that? That also can be done. Suppose our requirement is like, I don't want to control these two properties separately. I want to connect these two, and I want the same. And whenever I'm changing horizontal gap, the vertical gap should also be changed simultaneously. That also we can achieve. For that, we just need to select this vertical gap, just delete this, remove the value, hit enter. Once you do that, again you will see the same horizontal gap is getting applied here in the vertical gap section, and that is same, and that got grayed out in the same way it was earlier. And now if you are changing the horizontal gap here on the visual side or from here in the properties panel, it will going to change the horizontal gap. तो इसी तरह से ये हॉरिजॉन्टल गैप अगर आप चेंज करते हो, तो अभी ये वर्टिकल के साथ में कनेक्टेड है, तो आप इस प्रॉपर्टीज पैनल से हॉरिजॉन्टल गैप चेंज कीजिए या फिर यहाँ पे विजुअली आप हॉरिजॉन्टल गैप चेंज कीजिए. बट if you are changing this vertical gap either here in the properties panel or here in the visual area, that will going to get disconnected from this. तो यहाँ पे अगर मैं जैसे ही मैं ये वर्टिकल गैप को चेंज करता हूँ, ऑटोमेटिकली यू विल सी दिस गॉट bright white and it got disconnected from this horizontal property. And same way here, if you are changing it from here, now these are two different properties not connected anymore. And you know how to connect this. You just have to delete the horizontal spacing and just hit enter, and that's it, you are done. ओके, बहुत से ऑप्शन कवर हो चुके हैं, पर यहाँ पे किसी भी ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर को हम सिलेक्ट करते हैं तो यहाँ पे आपको एक छोटा सा सेटिंग का ऑप्शन देखेगा विच इज सेइंग ऑटो लेआउट सेटिंग. वंस यू क्लिक ऑन दैट, this is a panel which is having this three properties. Okay, let's explore that. The first one is stroke, विच इज़ बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट सेट टू एक्सक्लूडेड। अभी इसे समझने के लिए पहले क्या करते हैं कि ये जो ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर उसको स्ट्रोक ऐड कर लेते हैं। ओके, तो ये जो ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर है, सबसे पहले तो इसकी जो पैडिंग्स है वो सब तरफ से एक रिमूव कर देते हैं। सो आई विल जस्ट होल्ड कंट्रोल एंड क्लिक इन एनी ऑफ द पैडिंग एंड विल सेट इट टू 0। सो दैट इज़ द वन थिंग। और उसी के साथ में अभी मुझे वर्टिकली भी ये सारे जो बॉक्सेस है वो फिल करने हैं। So for that, it's not like horizontally only we can set it to fill. We can select all these three boxes and अभी ये जो height है उस सब सारे तीनों boxes का 100 है. We can set it to fill for all of these three. Okay, now these are now after this if we are resizing this box, then those are filling the horizontal and the vertical both the gaps. ओके, तो अब इस ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर को स्ट्रोक ऐड करते हैं। तो फ्रॉम हियर आई विल ऐड अ स्ट्रोक और इसका जो वेट है मैं इंक्रीज कर देता हूँ, लगभग 20 का रखते हैं। एंड देन ये जो ब्लैक कलर है उसकी जगह पे लेट मी सेट इट टू रेड सो वी कैन सी इट बेटर। अब यहाँ पे एक प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, वी आर नॉट एबल टू सी दिस बॉर्डर प्रॉपरली। जहाँ पे ये गैप्स है उतनी इसमें ये बॉर्डर दिख रही है, बट रेस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स इज गेटिंग inside the cropped. Now, why this is happening? This is happening because if we select this auto layout container and if we go here into auto layout setting, then here the strokes are right now set to excluded. That means if you check this preview, these are set to excluded. That means the strokes will get excluded or will not going to considered in the auto layout spacing section. That is why this auto layout is just ignoring those strokes. But if we want to have those strokes also part of the measurements of the auto layout, then here instead of excluded, we need to set it to included. And check the preview. Here in the excluded, those strokes are just outside of the boundary area. But here in the included, those are getting inside the boundary area or the spacing and everything. Now, if we set it to included, you will see the whole stroke is now outside and totally visible. That means that is now included here in total height and width, and apart from whatever the strokes applied here, excluding that, these all rest of the measurements will be there. And now if we set some padding or spacing, then that will be there apart from all rest of the spacing. So this property will be useful whenever we have this kind of strokes applied on the auto layout container and we want to include that stroke in the measurements. Okay, तो उसी तरह से ये जो सेटिंग में नेक्स्ट ऑप्शन है ये कैनवास ट्रैकिंग का, तो उसके लिए इस तरह का एक कंटेनर, इस तरह का एक लेआउट बना लेते हैं। तो फॉर दैट फ्रॉम हियर आई जस्ट टेक instead of ellipse I will just take frames. I will just have one frame from here. It's like so this is the one, and here I'll have this 150 by 150, and this will be my uh, frame number one. Okay, I want to have this complete circle. So for that ये कॉर्नर रेडियस को मैं कोई हाई वैल्यू सेट कर दूंगा, या फिर फॉर एग्जांपल 999। ओके, दिस गॉट कंप्लीट सर्कल। उसके अंदर मुझे सिर्फ एक लेटर टाइप करना है, लाइक वन, एंड आई विल अलाइन दिस इन सेंटर सेंटर, सो हियर जस्ट लाइक दिस। और इसका जो फॉन्ट थोड़ा सा इंक्रीज कर देता हूँ, फॉर एग्जांपल दिस मच, एंड वी आर गुड। ओके, now in the same way I want another one here, and in the same way the third one. So the second one will be 2 and the next one will be 3. Okay, or इनमें कुछ कलर्स दे देते हैं, जैसे कि ये जो टॉप में कलर यूज़ कर रहा हूँ मैं वही दे देता हूँ। सो लेट्स पिक ऑल दिस कलर रैंडमली, और इन तीनों एलिमेंट को यहाँ पे सिलेक्ट करके I want to create a auto layout. So I will right click and then I will add auto layout to this. Okay, now this particular auto layout got added here. Inside that we have these three elements. Now here इस तरह का कंटेनर जो है वो मोस्टली हमें बनाने का काम पड़ सकता है, यू नो, वेन एवर वी आर हैविंग, यू नो, प्रोफाइल अवतार्स, you know, in most of the UI designs, whenever you know we want to show the avatars of subscribers, or in the comment section we want to, you know, we want to show all those the faces of our users stacking on top of each other. That time, you know, we need this kind of you know, design. And in most of the cases, you know, we want to overlap these just like this. Okay, अब now this is, you know, all good, and we are happy with that. But the problem is, you know, what exactly I want. The first picture or the number here is at the very bottom. The second is on top of that, and the three number is on top of that. This is how is happening whenever we are overlapping these by using auto layout. But for some case, what we want this first number on a very top, then the second number at the back of that, and the third element at the very bottom. Now here, by using these visual elements, uh, we cannot, you know, cannot do that. But because this is how the layout stacking is there, here in the auto layout, to do that kind of a setting, there is one option here. So you just have to go into auto layout setting, and here you will see in the canvas stacking. Now, you know, I have chosen this example just to match that with this particular preview. See, right now you are seeing the same kind of a design there in the preview also, where one is at the very back and three number is at the very front. So that is actually the last is on top option. So the last, which is number 3 now, is at the top. But I want first on the top. So here, you know, see, once I'm just having a mouse on that particular first on top option, you just, you know, check in the preview. Instead of that one at very back, the one is, you know, coming at the front, and 3 is going at the very back. Just select this option and the same will going to reflect here. Now the first number is at the very top, second, and then last is at the very back. Now, if you want to create this kind of UI by using auto layout, then for that, this option will be useful. Okay, along with the same, the last option here in the setting is align to baseline, which this option is, you know, rarely useful, but you know, let's have a look on that also. तो उसके लिए मैं क्या करता हूँ, let me change all this text to some element, like, you know, this characters. और यहाँ पे suppose, you know, let's have this another element like a, and here let's have another element like y. Okay, and let's, you know, have these in a variable size. So let me decrease the font size of this a. Okay, and let me uh, increase this the font size of this y a bit to this. Okay, and what I will do, I will again increase this circle also. You know, let's increase the height and width of this circle also, you know, just to fit that particular y. ठीक है, अभी ये जो सारे एलिमेंट्स है वो अलग अलग साइज के हैं. ओके, लेट्स डिक्रीज द साइज ऑफ दिस ए आल्सो लाइक दिस, और उनके पोजीशन भी अलग अलग है. नाउ इफ आई एम सिलेक्टिंग दिस ऑटो लेआउट, एंड आफ्टर दैट I am setting this particular option align to baseline, what exactly will going to happen? First of all, you know, this is now disabled, where all of these boxes are in one line just like this. But you know, you just but if but once you just mouse over on the enable option in the preview also, you know, if you observe, you will come to know what exactly will happen. All of those boxes will align by on with respect to the baseline of all the characters inside that. So just enable this, and here you will see all these are now reshuffled and now are aligned to the baseline of all these characters. If you want to check how those are getting aligned to the baseline, then you can have one line here. Okay, let's draw one line. Let's increase the weight of this, and now just have this here. Just increase the width of this a bit, and then see, this is how these are getting aligned. The capital A, the baseline of the capital A is at the bottom. The baseline of this G character is here going in this way, and the baseline of this particular Y is in the same way. And these and all these, alignment is totally dynamic. That means if I'm changing any character here, suppose I'm changing this Y from this small case Y to suppose capital case H, automatically the character will reshuffle here. In the same way, you use any another character like R. See, automatically all the elements will get reshuffled because the baseline of this R is this one. In the same way, suppose we are aligning it to uh, character Q. See, the baseline of this small case Q is going here. So this is how all the elements are getting aligned. And once this property is applied, then here in the alignment you will see right now the alignment, all those 9 properties of this alignment are not applicable anymore. You can only align these horizontally from left to right to center if there is a spacing. And here at the bottom you will only get this minus icon which is saying remove baseline alignment. You will not going to get any other alignment because all these boxes or all these atoms are now aligned by the baseline of all the characters inside it. So I don't think this is that much useful, to be honest. मुझे तो ये अब तक कभी नहीं लगा यूजफुल. मुझे अब तक इसकी कभी ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ी. बट द ऑप्शन इज़ देयर. आई एक्सप्लेन्ड यू. तो चलिए ऑटो लेआउट का और एक एग्जांपल देखते हैं. तो ये एक मोबाइल का पेज है. जैसे मैंने अभी ऑन एंड्रॉयड कॉम्पैक्ट का एक फ्रेम लिया है, और उसके अंदर ये एक टिपिकल डिज़ाइन है, वर्टिकल. ओके. अब दिस इज जस्ट सम प्रोफाइल इन्फॉर्मेशन जहाँ पे एक यूज़र का फोटो है. सपोज दिस इज माई फोटो, और नीचे यूज़र नेम, सम टेक्स्ट, और सपोज सम कंटेंट. अब हमें क्या करना है? दिस इज अ पोर्ट्रेट ओरिएंटेशन, एंड मेनी टाइम वी हैव टू सपोर्ट both portrait and landscape orientation. Now, suppose the same page I want to check in the landscape orientation. अब यहाँ पे मैंने ये जो एग्जाम्पल है ऑलरेडी ऑटो लेआउट करके कंप्लीट किया है. व्हाट वी हैव टू डू, व्हाट वी हैव टू बिल्ड हियर इन दिस एग्जाम्पल, सपोज वी आर चेकिंग दिस डिजाइन in landscape orientation like this. So automatically this particular page should be responsive, and in landscape this will flow in the horizontal direction. Now we have to build this kind of a layout. Fine. तो चलो इसे बना के देखते हैं from the scratch. So here in the frame I will take the any phone frame. It's like this Android compact. This is the one. और इसके अंदर मुझे इस तरह के यूजर इमेज चाहिए, so I can just make a copy of this and will get it here like this. Okay. In the same way, बाकी के text भी we can just make a copy of this and can get it here. And the next is this one. Let's make a copy. And the next one, see, the next, let's create it by our own. So यहाँ पे ये जो टेक्स्ट है इसकी विड्थ मैं सपोज कम कर लेता हूँ. एंड लेट्स मेक दिस, let's change it from this particular auto height to fixed width. So all these I want in a fixed width, and let's make everything in a center. तो ये सारे एलिमेंट्स को मैं सिलेक्ट कर लेता हूँ और इन्हें हॉरिजेंटली सेंटर कर लेता हूँ. नाउ इन द बॉटम आई वांट द टेक्स्ट, दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर टेक्स्ट। तो उसके लिए क्या करता हूँ मैं, यहाँ पे ये टेक्स्ट एलिमेंट लेके, लेट मी ड्रॉ वन टेक्स्ट बॉक्स हियर लाइक दिस। और ये जो टेक्स्ट बॉक्स है इसके अंदर मुझे कुछ टेक्स्ट चाहिए लाइक दिस। Right now the formatting everything is very different, but let's fix this. So escape this, and all the formatting and all, it's like right now it is set to align, center align, I want it left align, और vertically भी मुझे top align चाहिए। Okay, so the alignment, now I reset to top and left। उसके बाद में उसकी जो फॉन्ट साइज है वो भी मुझे कम करनी है। आई वांट स्टैंडर्ड 16, regular, and default font size, default font and default weight. Fine. After that, I want, suppose, some kind of a lorem ipsum text here. For that, I can definitely go on internet and can search for the lorem ipsum text, or whenever I want to get that kind of a lorem ipsum sample text, I can take help of the plugin also. So here in the actions, we can go and we can check for one really good plugin called content drill. Just open this. If just search for the content drill and open it here, the content drill plugin will get going to open. And here you just have to go in text section, and here you will get this second option called lorem ipsum. Just click on that, and then make sure you have your text element selected, and then just click on apply all. तो वो पर्टिकुलर जो टेक्स्ट बॉक्स है आपका, वो लॉरेम एप्सम के जो पैराग्राफ है उससे फिल होके ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाएगा। सो यू डोंट हैव टू लीव योर फिग्मा टू गेट दिस काइंड ऑफ अ लॉरेम एप्सम टेक्स्ट। ओके, लेट्स क्लोज दिस plugin and we got our sample text ready. Fine. Now I want these three elements together as a one container. So I will select all these three. I will right click and then I will add auto layout for these three elements. And this particular auto layout I will call as text info. So this is my textual info. And here I have the alignment set to top center. And that is good. Automatically the flow has been picked as vertical because all these three elements were vertically aligned. That's why auto layout was smart enough to select vertical flow for this. And okay, along with that, this is my photo. Okay, and this is my textual information. Now what I want to do next step, select these two elements here in the layers panel, confirm textual info and my photo. Let me have photo here at the top. So we will have photo at the top and then textual info. Just select these two elements again here and right click and then use auto layout, or just use shortcut key shift A to add auto layout on top of this. And here I will call this as my auto layout container. Okay. अब इस ऑटो लेआउट कंटेनर को मुझे सबसे पहले यहाँ पे हॉरिजॉन्टली सेंटर अलाइन कर लेना है। ओके, एंड बाय यूजिंग वी कैन सेट इट प्रॉपरली, लाइक what kind of margin spacing and everything we want, we can definitely set it to that. That's not an issue. But now what is my next target? Whenever I'm selecting this frame and I'm changing the orientation, like the height and width of this, suppose to horizontal, it should automatically respond. Right now it is not doing that because of course we have not made any of those arrangements or changes in this auto layout. तो सबसे पहले क्या करना है, ये जो ऑटो लेआउट है जिसके अंदर ये दो मेन एलिमेंट फ्लो हो रहे हैं, वी हैव टू सिलेक्ट दैट एंड देन what we need to do, first of all we need to play with the constants. That is the first thing. Right now the constants here is set to center, okay, and vertically to top, but we do not, that's why whenever we are changing the width of this, it is always in the center. But that is not exactly we want. What we want here, this should remember its spacing from left and right. If this particular outer container is changing its width, it should not be there in the center. It should be from left and right. It should automatically respond automatically change its size as per its container. For that, instead of this center, we need to change it to left plus right. Now here, you will see this little small dots here. Previously, let me undo. Previously, it was here in the center cross. That means, it was center aligned, center constraints. But when we set it to left plus right, then we see this kind of a dotted lines from left and right, which is indicating now it is remembering its position from left side and right side both. So that means now if this outer container is changing its dimension, obviously left and right, this inner auto layout container will also going to change its size like this. So that is our first thing. Now the next thing is, whenever we are switching the dimension of this, what is happening, these all are getting filled. So that is first thing. What we need to do here, the elements here, if we check this image, these are the two elements, my photo and textual info, and these got set to fill. We definitely do not want it to be filled. We want it to be fixed size. These are the few cases where we have to change it from fixed, from fill to the fixed. अभी यहाँ पे ये जो फोटो है मेरा, I don't want it to get filled to all the available spacing. The width of this is set to 402. I want to make it fixed. Once I change it from fill to fixed, now it will not going to change. अभी अगर मैं आउटर फ्रेम को सिलेक्ट करके उसकी width अगर इंक्रीज कर रहा हूँ, तो सी it is not changing its width, but still we are not done yet, but now it is fixed. That is the first thing. Now again, let me select this, and if we check why this is on the right hand side, because of this alignment. Now alignment is set to right side. We need to change it to left top. That is the first thing. Or we even need to have it in a center, right? Because अगर फोन के साइज में भी अगर इसकी विड्थ थोड़ी सी बड़ी है, so it we want everything to be in center. That is the first thing. Now the second thing here, what we want, we do not want the vertical flow here, to be honest. वर्टिकल फ्लो जब रहता है, उस टाइम पे हमें यहाँ पे रैपिंग का ऑप्शन नहीं मिलता. वी कैन नॉट रैप इन वर्टिकल. दिस इज अ वेरी क्रूशियल पॉइंट टू रिमेंबर. ओके, in vertical flow we cannot wrap the element. We cannot wrap these elements to the next column. That wrapping element or that wrapping option is only available in the horizontal flow only. So for that we need to set it to horizontal. That's the first thing. And once we get the horizontal option, once we set the flow to horizontal, then only we get this option called wrap. And we want the element to be wrapped when there is not available space. जैसे ही हॉरिजॉन्टल को सेट करते हैं, अभी ये क्या होता है, ये जो दो एलिमेंट है, दोज आर नाउ इन वन लाइन. व्हाई इज दैट? ओके, जो फर्स्ट एलिमेंट है मेरा, ये जो माय फोटो वाला, माय फोटो, दैट इज ऑफ फिक्स्ड विड्थ 402. ओके, बट दो नेक्स्ट एलिमेंट है टेक्स्ट इन्फो वाला, दैट इज स्टिल सेट टू फील. I definitely want this textual information to fill the available spacing, but not in this tiny space, to be honest. तो इस केस में मुझे क्या करना है? First thing here, that we need to select this outer auto layout container, and first thing we need to set it to wrap. After setting the wrap, nothing will going to happen, because wrap कब effect में आता है? These two elements are in one line, because those can fit in one line. When any of these element is not fitting in this particular width, then that will get wrapped and will come in the next row. So for that, this textual information is there. I want to set the minimum width to this, so that it will not going to squeeze this much small, because this is not readable. Okay, so for that, this width is there, which is right now set to fill, and I want it to fill the available spacing only, but I want to set the minimum width to this. और minimum width कितनी चाहिए? At least we can try it out, like 300 pixel. We can give it a try. 300 pixel enter में जैसे ही hit करता हूँ, it will come on a next line, because these two elements cannot fit in a single row anymore. Available width अभी अगर हम देखते हैं इसकी, तो वो है ये जो ऑटो लेआउट की अवेलेबल विड्थ अभी टोटल यहाँ पे 535 है एज ऑफ नाउ, एंड दिस फोटो विल गोइंग टू टेक 402 पिक्सल, और ये जो टेक्स्ट है उसको मिनिमम विड्थ हमने 300 पिक्सल प्रोवाइड किए। दैट मीन्स दोज टू, समेशन ऑफ दोज टू are of course going beyond 535 pixel. That's why those are automatically getting wrapped. But if we select this outer container frame again, and if we get it in a horizontal, and whenever those two have sufficient spacing available to get in a single row, to fit in a single row, those will be in a single row. Now this particular frame is now responsive for both of the orientation, even in a vertical or in a horizontal. These are automatically rearranging its elements, and vertical and horizontal fashion. And this is just an example how we can take help of auto layout and wrapping functionality to create this kind of a responsive element. Okay, so it is time for our last and somewhat advanced example of auto layout. तो पहले देख लेते हैं कि एग्जैक्टली हमें करना क्या है. So this is one design of a typical a layout which I designed for desktop. Basically, this is the responsive design, and how this will going to work. See, I'm selecting this particular desktop frame, and if we are resizing this, this will be totally responsive. ओके, अगर इसको हम डेस्कटॉप या फिर बिग साइज स्क्रीन में देख रहे हैं, so it will be totally respond accordingly. And if we are decreasing it to suppose somewhat tablet size, automatically the element and everything will reshuffle. And even though we are taking it to a less somewhat mobile size, then also everything will work perfectly. So we have to create this kind of a layout by using auto layout. So let's have a look. चलो, तो उसके लिए मैं यहाँ पे बॉटम में ही एक फ्रेम ले लेता हूँ. सो एफ की टू एक्टिवेट फ्रेम, एंड हियर इंस्टेड ऑफ फोन वी विल स्टार्ट विद द डेस्कटॉप first design. So I will just use any typical desktop frame here, like this. And of course this will be responsive, so whatever the default size does not matter. Of course it will be responsive to all the sizes. Okay, तो ये जो डेस्कटॉप है इसमें सबसे पहले एक हेडर वाला बार चाहिए मुझे. सो फॉर दैट आई विल हैव एक रेक्टेंगल या फिर फ्रेम भी ले सकते हैं. वी कैन हैव वन फ्रेम हियर. सो लेट मी ड्रॉ वन फ्रेम somewhat like this, and 70 पिक्सल रखते हैं इसकी हाइट. 70 पिक्सल. Let's set it from here, and let's fill this. Let's fill some color here. कोई भी एक कलर यहाँ से मैं पिक कर लेता हूँ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस. फाइन. एंड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जैसे जैसे हम एलिमेंट ऐड कर रहे हैं, लेट्स स्टार्ट मेकिंग दोज रिस्पॉन्सिव. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अभी ये जो एक एलिमेंट मैंने ऐड किया है हेडर, दैट हेडर shall be responsive. So for that I will select the outer frame, and if I'm resizing this, then is it responsive? Definitely not. It is not seems like it is responsive. So let's make this responsive. Let me undo. और ये जो frame है, let's name this as our header. एंड इसका जो कंस्टेंट है वो मुझे किस तरह से सेट करना है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट विल बी फ्रॉम द टॉप. डेफिनेटली द हेडर विल स्टिक टू द टॉप, बट इंस्टेड ऑफ लेफ्ट आई वांटेड टू रिमेंबर इट्स पोजीशन फ्रॉम लेफ्ट एंड राइट. दोनों तरफ से वो स्टिकी चाहिए. नाउ इफ आई एम सिलेक्टिंग दिस डेस्कटॉप 2 and if I'm changing the width, see automatically this particular frame, the header, is also automatically adapting its width. Let me undo to the original size, and now let's begin with the next one. So here we have this sample example here, and the next one we want this kind of a hero image container. So for that, for defining this whole section, first of all I will define the grid layout for this. Okay, and using that grid layout, then I will define rest of the contents. So for that, I will select this desktop to frame, and here let's add layout guide here. Okay, I'm into say layout guide. So let's add one layout guide here. Instead of grid, I want to make it column. और अभी ये डेस्कटॉप है, तो डेस्कटॉप के लिए मैं इनको 12 कॉलम रखता हूँ. एंड आई विल हैव द डिफॉल्ट कलर एंड टाइप स्ट्रेच एंड एवरीथिंग. गटर और मार्जिन को देख लेते हैं. फ्रॉम बोथ द साइड, एज दिस इज अ डेस्कटॉप पेज, आई विल हैव समथिंग लाइक 80 or 60, sorry, margin, 80 or 60 margin. Or gutter inside, I want, something 20-24 around should be good. So this is how it is. If I'm feeling that margin should be more, तो increase कर देते, 80 कर देते. And I think this is good, and this is good. Okay. तो अभी इन लेआउट गाइड्स का यूज़ करके यहाँ पे आगे के जो हमारे एलिमेंट्स है उनको डिज़ाइन कर लेते हैं. So the next here I want this, my hero image or hero container. For that I will have a frame here, and I will draw one, frame. तो यहाँ पे ये लेफ्ट हैंड साइड के गाइड का यूज़ करके और राइट हैंड साइड का गाइड, इन दोनों का यूज़ करके मैं इनको अलाइन, इस पर्टिकुलर हीरो फ्रेम को अलाइन करूँगा. एंड द हाइट आई विल हैव समथिंग लाइक 250 शुड बी गुड. यहाँ से इसको मैं 250 सेट कर दूंगा. एंड द नेक्स्ट थिंग, आई विल add a color inside this. So I will have any color from here, like this orange, suppose. Okay. And let's call this frame as my hero container. Okay. And let's get this hero frame at the top and then the hero container. और उसी के साथ में, I need one label inside this indicating, that this is a hero image. So for that I will have a text element inside this. Just click inside and then I will call this as my hero image. So this will be my hero image. I will select this text and then just align it horizontally and vertical center. As we just created this text element inside this frame, this automatically became the children of this particular frame. Okay, so आगे बढ़ने से पहले, आगे के एलिमेंट्स ड्रॉ करने से पहले, लेट्स मेक दिस पर्टिकुलर hero image responsive. So for that, right now, if we select this outer frame, desktop frame, and if we are trying to resize this, then of course this hero image is not responsive. Let's make this responsive. For that, you know already that we need to play with the constant. Select this hero image frame, and by default it is having the left and top constants. But here, instead of left, we want the constant left plus right. So it should remember its position from left plus right also. And then it should be vertically, it should remember its position from the top. So I think we are good. Now let's try decreasing the spacing, and I think it is good. This particular hero image is now properly responsive. Okay, let's undo and make this the original size, and let's proceed further. उसके बाद में we need couple of boxes here which will be our product cards something. So let's draw a frame. So from here I will activate the frame tool, and I will draw that particular frame like 3 columns wide. So here I will have this 3 column wide, and I will have this rectangular. So 3 column width is 341 as of now. Here I will cross check that these are left and right, align to all these 3 column. And then the height also, I will make it 341. So here in the dimensions I will change the height also matching to the width. So this will be perfect square as of now. And along with that I will just have this kind of a text. So यहाँ पे एक text मैं ले लेता हूँ, and this will be my I will call this as box 1 as of now. Okay. And let's add some color to this. So here I will add one field, and I will pick any color from here. Okay. And again I will select this text element, double click on this, and then I will align it horizontally and vertically center. And we got our first box ready here. Okay. In the same fashion, I will, just duplicate this. So I will use Alter and Shift and will drag it to fill the next three column. And I will use later on, I will just use Control D, you know, Command or Control D to duplicate that element to fill all rest of the columns here. So in this way, we will going to have these four columns, and vertically also, let me increase the height here, and vertically I will just, duplicate these elements here just like this. Okay, and I will have consistent 50-50 spacing throughout. So all this should have 50 spacing like this. Okay, and we are good. I will just, change all this color randomly, and I will pick any sample color from here like this. And the last two boxes shall have similar color. I can, pick some other color also from here. It's like what, this blue one, and the last one I can pick any of the another color. Okay, so we got, some random color here, and these boxes are ready. I just need to, change the labels of these. This will be box 2. In the similar way, this is 3, this is 4, 5, this is 6, this is 7, and this is 8. Got it. Everything is good. Now we just need to, convert this particular box into auto layout. So this is our box 1. I will name this as my box 1 here also, and I will, use Shift A to convert this into auto layout section, and the rest of the everything will be taken care by itself. And then I will make this as our, I will just collapse this layer, and then let's make this as first layer here in the frame. Okay, in the same way, this is box 2. Again, I will select Shift A to make it auto layout. This is my box 2. Okay, see here, all these frames are there, and we are changing all their names like this. But first of all, let's rearrange this, and I will show you one another tool to change all these elements quickly, the names of all these elements quickly. So again, then this is 7, and then we got 8. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got all of these. Now, if I want to change, rename all these to, box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For that, and we have lots of elements in this way. So, updating, renaming this manually would be a job. So for that, what we can do, we can select all these frames here from this box 1 to all the boxes, and then right click on this, and then we can use this option called rename. Okay, so shortcut key is Control plus R. Just click on this, and this kind of a pop-up will open, and here it will show you the preview. So these are boxes like, all these, like box 1, 2, 3 up to 14. So here in the layers panel, 1, 2 up to 14, and here it is asking us to what we want to rename this, and here we can provide our pattern. So I want to rename all these to box like this, and see the preview is getting updated, and, box and then space, or I can have the current name also, but I do not want their current names there. After, renaming, I want box space and then all their, numbers ascending order. So I can use this number ascending order, which is, this code $NN. And here in the preview we can see box 01, 02, 04 to 8. So you can see these are the 8 boxes here. you know We can change the order, we can change it to descending also. We can start from any another character. This is, again, a really useful feature. You can explore this particular renaming option in detail. This is very handy. And I will just click on rename and see the magic. We got all those elements renamed now, box 01 to box 08. And this is very handy whenever we have lots of such elements and which we want to quickly rename to any particular sequence or pattern. Okay, after this, I will just select each and every box and will just, convert it into auto layout. See, the top two are auto layout now, but rest of those are not. So I will select this and just use shift A to apply the auto layout quickly. Shift A, shift A, shift A, shift A. That's it. Okay. After this, I will select all these 8 boxes from here, and then I will add auto layout to this. So right click on this and then use add auto layout, or just use shift A shortcut key. Just click on the auto layout and auto layout got added. And here we got this particular frame with all these elements, inner elements. So here, this is the nesting auto layout going on. Inside this also we have all this auto layout, and the outer container is again, the parent auto layout. I can name this as, boxes, our auto layout. And let's move this bottom here below the hero container. Okay, now here we need to make this responsive. For that, just select this auto layout boxes, and couple of things, here we have to note. As these, the default arrangement of all these boxes are in multiple rows, auto layout automatically detected those kind of a settings. So it, in auto layout section, it automatically set it to the horizontal plus wrapping enabled. See, this wrapping option is already enabled. So auto layout is smart enough to identify the need of all these options. Okay. In the same way, whatever the existing spacing were there, those automatically added there as a gap, which you can change if you want to. Which I'm seeing here, see, the vertical spacing between all these elements are 50 we are keeping, but this, I think, by mistakenly, it's 51. We can definitely change it to 50, like this. And the vertical spacing are as per our gutters, so those are, I'm keeping 24. Okay, now first thing, before even checking the next responsiveness of this, we need to set the constraint. So it will, of course, will have the by default constraint, which is left and top, but we do not want that. We want, instead of left, we want it left plus right, and top should be good as of now. After this, let's select this desktop frame, and then let's try to resize this. What is happening? Something is actually happening, see, all these boxes are getting resized. First of all, let me hide these layout guides, because these are coming in between. So the shortcut key to hide the layout guides globally is shift G. And after this, let's try. Oh, the elements are actually wrapping. The wrapping of element is happening, definitely. But we are seeing this kind of unusual gaps in between. What we can do about that? So how to fill this particular extra gap? I think we already know the answer. For that, we just need to set all these boxes to fill instead of fixed height and width. So here, I can go into these boxes, and I can select all these boxes here, all the children's, and here the width is actually set to fixed width. I just need to set it to fill the container, and once I set it, all this will get filled. So our that particular gap problem got solved, but there is another problem now came into picture. Now these particular boxes all are getting fitted in single row only. That actually we do not want. We do not want these boxes to shrink this much. That is that is our requirement. How can we achieve that? For that, that also, we already saw. For that, we can use the minimum width constant. So here, along with the field container property, we can add the minimum width. So yeah, we definitely want it to fill, and we definitely want it to shrink or grow as per the available size, but not below. We can have some of the value, like, let's give it a try with around 300. And yeah, you know we can see this is the value. Again, if we are feeling no, it should be greater, we can again, always try increasing this, like, uh, suppose 320. Okay, so it will not go below 320 in all the boxes. And with this, I think, it is working. Let's give it a try. And I will select the outer desktop, and let's try to resize this, and let's see how these are behaving. And actually, these are behaving properly. See, now here, all the boxes are in one row, and all the rest of the boxes which are not getting fit here. And here we can see the minimum width here is getting maintained. Okay, so those are, uh, all the boxes are at least whatever the minimum width we set. What is the minimum width we set? 320. So all the boxes are at least 320 or greater of that. We have not applied any maximum width, and we don't even want maximum width in this case. But those are not getting below 320. So here, if we try to decrease this after one certain point, it will automatically start wrapping the elements. That is what we want. So yeah, definitely, we can check this. So here, if we go here in the frame, and right now this is a frame, and right now it is not set to any preset, but we can check this on multiple preset. For example, let's check this on the bigger, let's start with the bigger sizes like desktop, which was by default. And here also, nothing is breaking. Yeah, definitely the elements are getting wrapped here, but of course we will have the scroll bars to scroll this. But on the horizontal side, all the boxes and everything are looking good. Like, again, check the another sizes, like let's check MacBook 14-inch. Yeah, it is looking good. MacBook Pro 16-inch, this is the maximum size available here, and there also, it is not breaking. Let's check the tablet sizes. So let's check on iPad mini. Here, also it is good. Let's check, iPad Pro. There also, in that tablet also, it is good. Let's check iPad Pro. There also, it is, coming as a two column, and rest of the things are good. Let's check the phone also. Here I will check on the Android medium. There also, it is coming in the one column, which is fine. And smaller sizes like Android compact, and there, it is breaking. And why that is breaking? Because here, hmm let's have a look. This is definitely not working for the phone. It should ideally. So what exactly is happening? Couple of problems I'm facing here. First of all, see, this hero image is not looking like a hero here. This box is going outside. What exactly is the problem? If we pay attention here, uh, the spacing around this, on both the side we have 80/80 spacing, which is of course there, because in the desktop size we have set it to 80/80 margin as per our layout guides. But don't you think this 80 margin in the phone is too much? It should not be 80 here in the phone. The phone sizes are very compact. Definitely we cannot have that, this kind of desktop margin here in the phone. And here, the minimum size we kept for this particular box was 300. But here, after 80/80, if we check after 80/80, only this much width is remaining, which is 252. That's why this is getting this is going outside. So this is all messing the design on the phone. Let's fix this. So here, the first problem, is the margin here. On the phone, we want relatively smaller. On the bigger size, we want it relatively bigger. How can we achieve that? That is, bit tricky to achieve if we, think it. Um, but yeah, there is a trick. There is a trick for that. Let me, switch it back to the desktop. And this is my desktop size. And for this, actually, we designed this particular layout guide. If we enable that layout guide by using shift G shortcut key, and you will see all these are proper. This is how we designed it by using this particular 12 column layout guides. But there is one problem here. These particular elements which are getting resized on right and left, these all the elements, this particular auto layout container, which is which is the parent of all these boxes, this hero image, we are not talking about this header, because header will be will be sticky from both the side. That is a full block level element. But if we talk about this hero image and all these boxes, we have set the constraint to left plus right. So of course, it will remember its position from left. From left, it is 80 pixel. From right, it is 80 pixel. So no matter what is the size this particular frame is getting changed, it will still have 80 pixel from both the side, which definitely we do not want. As this particular outer frame is getting increased or decreased, this particular left and right spacing will get scale up or down. That is our requirement. How can we achieve that? We can definitely achieve that. For that, we have a special property here, which is at the bottom here, scale. If we set it to scale, then so what will happen in case if we set it to scale? Let's have a look. Now here with this scale option, if we select this outer frame, and then if we are resizing this, you will see the difference between the bottom boxes width and the width of this hero image. If I'm increasing the width, automatically the left and right spacing is getting increased. But if I'm decreasing the spacing, you will notice that that particular distance from both left and right is getting decreased consistently, relatively. See, and if we check it on a phone, you will see this particular distance on left and right is getting decreased also, and which was actually our requirement. So we can take help of this particular scaling option for the constant for this top level of element. So again, I will undo this, and let's set it to desktop again. And here I will cross check this is on desktop. And again, along with uh, scale for this hero image, I will set the scale of this all uh, this boxes container also to scale, and we are done. After this, if we switch it to any phone like Android Compact, then you will see this is properly responsive. Again, yeah, definitely we will see the one column layout here. That is how we want. In the smaller sizes, only one column layout is properly visible. So we definitely want one column layout, but our design is not getting messed up. And if we check any another sizes, the spacing on the left hand side will be relatively proper. Let me hide the layout guides. And now if we check any another phones or tablet, then the spacing and everything are much better than the previous one, like this. So this was the last example where we saw how to create fully responsive page which will run from bigger desktop sizes to smaller phone sizes. There is still one thing, which we need to see how can we achieve that. Let me set it to suppose iPhone. Let me set it to MacBook Pro 16 inch suppose. And if we check this particular top example, you will see this particular star here at the top, and which is indicating that this particular card or this particular product is set to favorite. I want that same kind of a star. Okay, I can definitely open the plugin and can download that particular star. But for the easy purpose, I will just steal this particular star from here. Just copy this and get it here. So here in this desktop, I'll just add this star. Okay, so this is my star, and I want to set it to, suppose I want to make this particular box 3 as my favorite. Now once I drop that particular star here, what is happening? See, by using, I want this star here at the top. But that is not working somehow. Why? Because this box 3 or all the boxes here are auto layout. That means once we are getting any element inside this box, that element is a part of auto layout. And right now this box is set to vertical layouting option. So that's why we are seeing this elements along with the star and this text are getting flowed vertically. We can definitely set it to horizontal or vertical, either of these two. But how can I get this particular star here at the top? That sounds little bit challenging. Now one option is like, we can get this star outside here, okay, in our outer frame, where the outer frame is, which we can see is set to free form flow. That's why, that means that any element can be at any position whichever they want. They do not have any particular flow. And then we can set it to somewhere here. But as we, once we are getting it this inside this, it is just getting part of this particular auto layout. That is not working definitely. And if we are getting it inside, then yeah, definitely not working. Hmm. So how to solve this problem? So what exactly I want here, I want this star to be a part of this box, because whenever I'm moving this box, then this particular star should also get moved along with that box. I don't want this star to follow the default flow option or this auto layout option. In short, I want this star to ignore the auto layout flow and make it an exception. Can we do that? We can definitely do that. There is option for that. If we want any of the element which is there inside the auto layout, but we do not want it to follow the default auto layout flow, for that we can select that element. And here, if we go in the position section, at the top right corner you will see one property here which is saying ignore auto layout. You click on this button. See, this particular button is activated now. That is the one thing. And the same kind of a symbol you will see on that particular frame. If you see this frame here, this frame is having this kind of a box, this corners, square corners on all the four sides. This is an indication that this particular element is now ignoring the auto layout. This is a children, this is still a children of this box 3, but now we can set this at any absolute positioning. So here I'm setting it at the corner, and shift left and right, and I want to just keep it 10 pixel from the corner, and I'm good. The benefit of this is like, still this star is a part of this auto layout, this box 3. That means if I'm selecting this box 3, and if I'm moving this box 3, suppose at this position, this particular star is also getting moved. So I don't need to worry about changing the absolute positioning of this particular star. Also, this will obviously will get moved, carry forward along with this particular box. So this is also one of the option which we can use whenever necessary. And this is how we created a complete responsive page layout which can respond to all the bigger sizes to the smaller phone sizes. तो ये था हमारे फिग्मा ट्रेनिंग का क्लास नंबर 24, जिसमें हमने ऑटो लेआउट कवर किया। अगर वीडियो अच्छा लगा तो लाइक कीजिए, कुछ क्वेश्चंस रहेंगे तो कमेंट कीजिए, आई विल डेफिनेटली आंसर देम। और सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलिए। तो मिलते हैं अगले क्लास में। थैंक यू।